Welcome and thank you so much. Sorry, that's probably the 2021 sentence. You're on mute. That was 2020. Now that's 2021. Sorry for that. Just wanted to say thank you, Jessica, and thanks to Latam Mobility for inviting me to be the host today. Good morning, Americas, and good afternoon, Europe. I'm not going to talk too much because we have a special guest to inaugurate the event. We have former Mexican President Felipe Calderon, who also works at the FIA in the Sustainable Mobility Commission. So Sustainability Commission. So thank you, Mr. Calderon. We know you're pretty busy, so we're going to give you the stage to inaugurate this fantastic event. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll be back after.
Thank you very much. Good morning from Mexico. Now we are living in a crazy weather time. As you know, there is an incredible vortex in part of the United States, south of the United States, and north of Mexico. What is incredible is we are observing day after day these extreme weather events that are changing the face of the earth and at the same time threatening more than ever our common future. And that's the reason why I'm very happy to be here today and to give all of you the warmer welcome, if I can say that, to this Green Racing Summit today. I had the opportunity to see all of you before in the Latam Mobility Summit in Mexico in 2018, and see all of you recently last year still for Formula E racing in Mexico City. But now move it all for this common purpose to explore zero emissions in motorsports in order to support, to aim the transitions towards sustainability. It's a pleasure for me to be with you today. 1 year also since FIA joined the UNFCCC Sport for Climate Actions. And now, recently, the last assembly in December, virtual by the way, we have approved an ambitious environmental strategy to become, in order to reach quite ambitious goals. One is to become carbon neutral in 2021, and in the transition to reach the other one, which is to becoming net zero by 2030. So not only we are planning in FIA to reduce our carbon footprint every year, incorporating a science-based targets approach to climate actions, but we will also completely offset our emissions as of this year at the end of 2021. FIA will offset all its emissions at the central operations and start investing in breakthrough technologies to allow to removal the carbon from the atmosphere in order to be carbon zero. So in the technical side, you know very well, you are doing the best part in this, promoting motorsport without emissions, all the section related with electric cars, a very passionate race that we are observing everywhere, either motorcycles, bikes, cars, and all these new sport, Formula One, Extreme, etc. So working in this development, FIA is trying to be 100% sustainable fuel user for Formula One, using second generation of biofuels and researching a lot. Now we are part of a wider plan to create a roadmap for electrification and green energy applications in all our championships. And at the same time, we are looking to reduce our emissions in every single event on FIA, either in motorsport and of course in mobility, to support all the members of FIA to embrace this common cause and go all the way to carbon emissions reduction first, measuring reductions and offsetting, and finally zero emissions. So for a lot of reasons, it's a pleasure for me to start to inaugurate or to do the welcome of this Green Racing 21 virtual summit. I hope all of you, all of us can get the best of this future you are embracing very hard, and the best luck for all of you, with my best regards from Mexico City.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I want to say, it's possible to be, myself, I work in clean energy and sustainable mobility, but I'm also a motorsports fan. And I think, you can combine everything, it's not about, you can drive a car and it could be sustainable. So I think today we're going to hear from the best expert in the field. Looking forward to it. And again, thank you very much, Mr. President. I know you're pretty busy and we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed, you can be a motorsports fan, like I am, and also to be a fan of the globe, a fan of the planet, and work for both at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good day in Mexico City. Bye-bye. So we're going to continue with another introduction from the president of the FIM, the Motorcycling International Federation, and then we'll be back for the first panel. Thank you so much for joining.
Hello, everybody. I am the president of the International Motorcycle Federation. and I would like to address some words for this green virtual racing summit that you are having today. And let me tell you that FIM is very, very much concerned about the energetic transition. And we, even if we are not motorcycle producers, and even if sometimes we are not the promoters of the races, we have started 3 years ago with electric bikes in our races. We have mainly the Moto E, that I suppose if you like MotoGP, if you like the best show in the earth, you know the Moto E races, where we have a very, very competitive discipline with some of the top riders in the world. And we are promoting that together with Dorna because we believe we must be the example. We must show that even if our emissions are very low, compared, for instance, to the spectators in a football game, for instance, or to a jumbo going across the ocean, but the fact is that we must show the way to follow. We have not only the Moto E, but we have also the electric trial that will be in the European Olympic Games in 2023 in Poland. And this is very, very important. We must change our mentalities. We must go for non-emissions ways of mobility. So we'll keep our way, and I hope you have a very, very nice summit and you take very good conclusions of your work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Still on mute. I'm going to get used to it. Thank you so much for being with me today. And, welcome, Bill. Bill is going to be the moderator of the next panel. Before we start with the guests, we have special guests for this panel, and I think that's going to be a pretty interesting discussion. We think that the best way to introduce what they're doing is just to showcase some videos. So bear with us. We're going to show you 4 videos, and then we're going to be back with the first panel. Thank you so much.
Can you hear that? The sound of change. Plugged in, fully charged. Over 4,000 kilowatts of pure power. Waiting to be unleashed.
All 5 lights are on. We go green.
A race against time. A race for change. 12 of the world's most powerful teams.
Our teams is a race control. Hang on, it's not over yet.
This is Racing Electric. Welcome to Season 7. Change accelerated.
The first electric boat championship.
Fast, immersive, unpredictable.
That will crown the first ever E1 world champion. With the E1 series, we want to electrify the sea, the rivers, the lakes, all over the world, to make this electric revolution come also to the water.
The Racebird will be a truly unique all-electric powerboat with some of the most advanced boating technology in the world.
We have excellent location all around the globe. New York, London, Monaco, Miami, Sydney. We are very much looking forward to give a great contribution to save our planet.
We will make sure to have the right technology and the right people in order to deliver something absolutely disruptive and, of course, fully electric.
E1, water electrified.
Hi again. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm gonna pass the microphone to Bill for the first panel. I think we lost one of the panelists. He's gonna be back at some point, but enjoy the first conversation. Those videos were amazing. Bill, over to you and enjoy the conversation. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kim. Good morning, good day, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Green Racing Virtual Summit 21, powered by Latam Mobility and presented by Green Racing News. And welcome to the first panel of the day, who will be discussing the path to reach zero emissions in motorsports. I'm your moderator, Bill Beverley, and I'm humbled to present the panel today, who fantastically epitomizes the current zero emissions trends in motorsports, representing not only the Latam region, but worldwide as well. Before we go through and introduce each panel member, I'd like to say a few brief words about myself and my own zero emissions motorsports experience. Again, my name is Bill Beverley, and I am the co-founder of Evolectric, and I am the head of technology and engineering. We are a USA and Latam-based technology platform company specializing in electrified transportation and battery technologies. We focus in the United States mainly on new entrants to the technology space, startups and more established small and large businesses. We offer feasibility studies and planning, rapid prototyping and production transition services, along with access to a wide, broad supply chain network. Our focus in Latam involves development or integration of electrified systems with technologies tailored not only around specific Latam market needs, but also incorporating circular economy principles and minimizing cost entry barriers. My own experience in zero emissions motorsports stems back to my time in the special programs team at the electric vehicle manufacturer Faraday Future, starting with our collaboration with Dragon Racing for seasons 3 and 4 of the Formula E Championship. Our special programs team also led the effort in 2017 up Pikes Peak International Hill Climb to outperform the standing production electric vehicle record at that time. Our team at Faraday was also fortunate to explore advanced electrified prototype production intent projects involving OEM partners who operated in the supercar and hypercar spaces. So that's enough about myself, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce this fantastic panel of zero emission professionals today. Good day, panelists. I'm going to go around and introduce one of you at a time, and if you could please just share a brief description about yourself, your brand, or series for our viewers, that would be great. And I'll go ahead and start with Álvaro Buenaventura, Regional Director Latam for Formula E, the largest and most immediately recognizable electric motorsports championship series. Hello, Álvaro.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's good to see known faces again this year, and thank you, Latam Mobility Summit, for the invitation. Well, you introduced it very well. Formula E has been the first motorsport electric series. We started back in 2014, and since then it has been an amazing trip with a lot of ups and downs. But I think we managed to create this new pyramid in motorsport, being Formula E kind of the pinnacle of that new electric pyramid. And it's good to know, to see that it has been sustainable, and now other championships are coming behind and creating a bigger ecosystem, and not only governments, but brands, and the most important one, fans are joining the boat. So now we even have boats in this in this new adventure. So yeah, thank you very much, and very excited to be here with you guys today.
Great, thank you, Álvaro. Excited to see the future growth of Formula E continue. And you alluded to our next panelist. So next, and from a similar heritage, we have Rodi Basso, CEO of the new and exciting E1 Electric Powerboat Championship Series. Hello, Rodi.
Hi everyone. Thank you very much for the invite. Yeah, I'm Rodi Basso. I'm Italian. I'm an aerospace engineer. I spent more than 20 years in motorsport, focusing on the race engineering side, and then the business development and management of electronics and data intelligence. And I mean, in September last year, with my friend and business partner Alejandro Hrag, we have launched this new venture, this new sport, and we have two clear targets. One is to create a very exciting, immersive, and inclusive spectacle. And the second target is to accelerate the electrification in the marine industry. So with these two clear points in mind, we are super ready and charged to develop the powerboat and launch the championship.
Sounds like a very exciting new series, Rodi. Thank you very much for sharing. So next on our panel is Agustin Payá, co-founder and managing director of the first electric production car racing series, Evolectric GT. Hello, Agustin.
Hi, Bill. Thank you very much for your introduction, and good afternoon from Barcelona. Thank you very much for your invitation, and I'm very happy to be part of this event, and congrats to you and Green Racing team for your excellent organization. My name is Agustin Payá, and I'm co-founder and technical director of Evolectric GT. I'm also an engineer and ex-race driver. Maybe the public remember me for being part of the first team of the Acciona Dakar, the first full electric car that participated in the Dakar Rally in the history in 2015. Was also a member of the Drivers Club in the first season of the Formula E in 2014. I am current commentator in the Spanish public television broadcast of the races of the Formula E also. Our proposal is based in the production car series. We want to launch our championship soon. I hope in 2022. In the beginning, it's based in the Tesla Model S, in concrete in the Tesla Model S Plate Plus, and I think is another great offer because complete this scenario of the new championship. And is other part to be arrive to our objectives, accelerate the sustainable transport. This is the way. This is the objective.
Thank you very much, Agustin. Excited to see it go forward. And last but not least, please meet Teodosiev, winner of the Furthest Away from Latam Award, founder of Kinetik Automotive, presenting the first Bulgarian electric sports car and a race-ready super-powered electric go-kart. Hello, Teo.
Hello, everybody from Bulgaria. Nice to meet you. I'm Teo, and I'm the founder of Kinetik Automotive. And Kinetik is an electric-first vehicle manufacturer. And by being electric first, we are strong believers that the shift to electric, it's inevitable. Behind me, you can see our first two products, the Kinetik 07 electric speedster and the Kinetik 27 electric go-kart. They are track-focused vehicles. And I keep saying electric car, electric go-kart, but I truly believe that within 10 years, we'll skip saying electric. It will be a car, and by default, it will be electric. Probably we'll switch and start saying petrol cars. It's similar to how we stopped saying color TV back in the 80s. So we're very bullish on this shift.
Thank you very much, Theo. Excited to see your technology enter the space. So great. Now we're going to move into some questions that I'll go ahead and ask the panel as it relates to our topic, the path to reach zero emissions in motorsports. So we have about 5 minutes total for each question. So about just over a minute of each panelist. So we'll just go around each member and do our best to maintain that time. So panel members, moving in the same order as introduction, let's start with this first question. So from your own respective participation in motorsport and boundary pushing zero emissions vehicles, what types of initiatives do you currently have planned, or what have you already been doing, for example, that really drives the development of new zero emissions technology in and around motorsport? So Álvaro, if you don't mind starting.
Thank you. Well, this is actually a very important question, and I think everybody in this panel might agree to start this kind of championships. It moves a lot of people, a lot of financial budgets, and a lot of technology brands all around the world. You have to be dealing with governments, with different nationalities, different cultures. So to put that beast moving, I think you have to be realistic between two very important things. The first one is where technology is, and the other one, how much does it cost, to make real a project. So I think you have to be a sport built on a purpose. That's the basis of all of us here today. But you also need to be realistic. What can be achieved in the short term to launch the project, and then put some milestones in the way, so you can achieve them, with the correct partners. So having said this, Formula E tried at the beginning to be as sustainable as possible. The most important thing here also was the communication side, building this new communication platform, and being able through sport to send some messages to the mass people, not only to people that are sitting in a summit like we, that can be a little bit of freaks on the topic, but through sport, what you are aiming, and what the main goal is, to send these messages through sport to the common people, to the mass fans part of the pyramid. So with this in mind, we started with the correct partners, as sustainable as possible, and we have managed to conquer some important goals in our career. We are starting the 7th season, so it has been 7 years of working on different technologies. Last year we did a great achievement, managing to be the first to be the first net zero carbon footprint championship in the world since the inception. And I think that's the most, talking about sustainability, this has been the most important achievement, because you can demonstrate that it's possible. And to do this, there are certain points that are very important, and it's not so easy. You need some time to develop this scheme and this plan. The first one is to measure effectively all the carbon outputs that you have in your event. Okay, so this takes some time, and when I say measure it effectively, it takes a lot of international companies to make these assessments. And once you have them clear, then you have to try and reduce them. And for example, we have worked, and here it's super important, the role of the partners and the sponsors. Each one of the sponsors want to tell a story, and you have to team up with the best ones in each case. So logistic-wise, it's a very important carbon offset that you have to do. The tires in a motorsport championship, it's important. The plastic you use in the venues. So you team up with these guys, and then you try to reduce the ones you can, and then the ones you cannot, you work to offset them and there are different initiatives. We have been working in each single location that we have raised, in Mexico, Chile, Morocco, China, New York. In each one of the cities and the countries that we have raised, we have offset through international companies and initiatives all the carbon footprints that we were not able to load. And this is through landfill gas generation, wind power energy projects, biomass, like in China. So yeah, it's a matter of doing that roadmap and being consistent and teaming up with the correct people, and then putting new milestones ahead. And as the president Calderon said, we are also committed to becoming completely carbon neutral for 2030. So that's our goal, and let's see if we can manage to do it. So thank you.
Álvaro, fantastic things that you touched upon. Appreciate the answer. Rodi, your thoughts as well?
Yeah, on our side, of course, first of all, we are totally aligned with what Álvaro said. And the difference between the experience of E1 Series and Formula E is where we are with the roadmap. So Formula E is investigating the following steps. So it's broadening fairly enough all possible aspects that are related to sustainability, given that we are playing into the marine industry, and the marine industry is a bit behind in terms of electrification process. And this is not only a technical comment. This is also a matter of cultural comment and awareness from the people using leisure boat or luxury boat, whatever level, whatever segment. There is still a lot to do. But again, together with Alejandro, we come from a long-standing experience in the sport and in technology, with at least 10 years experience in the sustainability process. We have a lot of lessons learned from the automotive world. So we have based our strategy on two important points. One is the technology cross-fertilization. So our powerboat will be the meeting point of three different technical culture. The motonautic, of course, because we need all the expertise about the balance of the powerboat, the naval architecture, the structural analysis, and so forth. The sailing technical culture, especially with the latest foiling technology that are allowing to reduce massively the resistance of the powerboat and to accelerate to incredible level for a sailboat. And then we, from the motorsport, we will take and the high-end automotive, we will take forward, we take with us all the best possible partner in order to bring the state of the art of the electrification process. Of course, there will be a few bumps, but the real challenge on this side is more related to the integration. The second part is the awareness. So our idea is to build incredible city events around the race. And these city events will aim to gather up big crowds of people and let them get very close to the technology, the application, and also, of course, through the sport, the fun of driving an electric powerboat, the excitement, because there is also with cars, nobody says that you need to rearrange completely and review completely the driving style, but the level of torque that you get instantaneously, it's something that you will never be able to feel with a thermal engine. And this, is testing and giving hard times also to the tires, just to talk about different subjects. But what I was trying to say is that the city event will be fundamental to get the people close as much as possible to the technology. A technology that, of course, is a certain level of technology readiness. We are comparing the thermal engine, who's got 120 years of inefficiency, with the electric propulsion. Of course, it's a very old kind of physics principle, but the electric propulsion is newer, absolutely, in terms of experience compared to the thermal engines. And so there are some cultural barriers that we reckon we can definitely change for the good, and we can get the people closer and closer to this kind of application, which, by the way, I don't think is so much of a choice, but it's important to let the people understand that, again, there could be fun. It's a good way, an efficient way for the mobility of the future. And so this is the way to go.
Rodi, fantastic highlights there. Appreciate that. You thought about it from top to bottom, so it's a very exciting racing series coming up. Agustin, thoughts on your side about how you're going to be pushing boundaries, how the industry needs to push boundaries towards zero emissions? Agustin, can you hear me?
Hi now. Perfect. Sorry.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with my colleague. I want to introduce some new points. Now that automotive industry is in transition to the sustainable transport, this creates a lot of change in the balance of the industry. New players are coming, but in fact, we need to reduce the transport. This is a reality in global. Fossil, of course, but also the electric one. This is a market in my opinion, go to be smaller. This is the reality. And for the other side, yeah, I agree. To put in the market a championship like Formula E or our proposal, Electric GT, where we needed a lot of financial resources, technological resources, and a very great and bigger partners to do this. This is the truth. And regarding to our proposal, yes, we are now in the launch process. We are not just in the competition. We expect to start our championship in the next year with the permits with the pandemic situation. This is very important. But our offer consists in the following main concepts. On the sporting side, we use production car series in our race and events. Of course, introducing the safety improvements required by the International Automotive Federation, the FIA, proportional electric karting also, championship to attract to the younger drivers. This is very important. That the future drivers join to the electricity in the beginnings of their sporting careers, creating a virtual EGT championship with 3D technologies and recreation of the G-force accelerations never seen before. This is very important, the gaming sector. And I need to... Probably now it's very important these virtual championships, because it's works like a backup in the situations like we are living now, like the pandemic. No, it's difficult to organize live events. Using and promoting, of course, the clean energy in our events. This is core. This is the main objective, and. For example, using backup batteries pre-recharged with a sustainable energy, including events like this, for example, conference and everything focused in the promotion of sustainable mobility around the world. This is the idea, no? I think everything we can do to promoting the use to electric cars, clean energy, etc., is the way to change, to live off the fossil age, to enter to the new one, no? The age of light. I like this claim because it represents everything. The age of light is the objective.
The age of light sounds like a fantastic future for everybody. So really thought about it. Appreciate it. All right, Teo, last but not least, your thoughts on generally how you're driving the technology and the initiatives you have towards zero emissions.
Talking about initiatives, I'll share some news exclusively for the Green Racing Summit. And actually, I'm very happy to hear the direction Agustin mentioned about their initiatives, because ours are similar. And we are in the final phase of development of a competition version of the electric go-kart. And later this year, we will announce a championship series with electric go-karts starting in 3 countries in Europe, hopefully early next year, depending on the global situations. But yes, it's very resonates with what Agustin mentioned as initiative. And we hope with this initiative to make this zero-emission motorsport more accessible to people who are interested. And probably these kind of series will be the missing stepping stone for younger pilots joining Formula E later on. And Formula E created this genre, and the smaller players like us will help leverage it and really make it much more accessible.
Teo, I think you're spot on. Obviously, a lot of young racers get their start in the kart space, so it's you're doing a fantastic job to accelerate that. So,
thanks.
Wonderful. So the next question, you all touched a bit about obstacles, whether they were technical or more programmatic or just worldwide, including the pandemic. So I'd like to dive a little deeper in some specific obstacles that you might be observing. Are you observing any performance gaps, for example, in the technology space that you have to work around? If you could share some examples of how you're working around them, even if they're not performance related, even if they're just general obstacles that you're having to deal with. Álvaro?
Thank you. So, well, obstacles, there are always obstacles. Most times are financial obstacles, like technology that you would love to use. It's super expensive, so you cannot take it all around the world, especially being a world championship. We would love that our fan zone, our e-village would be completely zero emission, but taking or buying second life batteries or putting that kind of battery infrastructure in place in each venue, it's completely out of the budget of anybody. Or if you fly them, then you have the problem of one for the other. No, you're flying huge, enormous batteries around the world. So at the end, it's no point because you are outputting a lot of carbon footprint there. So it's about, as I said before, starting with the things you have and that you can afford. And a perfect example in Formula E has been the batteries in the cars, right? So we decided to start with a championship that the batteries were not strong enough or good enough for a 1 hour race. So that's when we decided to say, okay, what can we do with technology and with the budgets? And we did that. Every single driver had 2 cars, and they had to change car in the middle of the race. No, so you raced 20 minutes with one, and then switched and went to the other car. And those were the beginning days of Formula E. And with the correct partners again, and being an open innovation championship, this meaning that the technology that we develop is for everything and for every manufacturer. We open tenders with the biggest and the most premium battery companies in the world. So thanks to Formula E and this development platform, technology development platform that we put in place, in just 4 years, we managed to develop a new battery that is nearly double time racing. So now each driver, generation 2 car, each driver only has 1 car, and it lasts for more than 45 minutes, with a little increase in weight and a little bit more power. So this means that all the obstacles, and that, as you said, batteries are one of the most important components in all these championships. These obstacles become opportunities, and these opportunities should be the development of new technologies, right? So yeah, basically, the batteries has been an important milestone in our project, but also opportunities to bring other digital gadgets inside the championship, like the fan boost for us, or the attack mode, now that we don't have pit stops in Formula E. So that's a problem, but let's create a new concept, a new opportunity, and we created the attack mode. That is very like gaming. We gamified a little bit the races. We can speak more about the attack mode a little bit later, maybe. But yeah, I mean, it's about to start little by little, step by step, and being with the right partners to develop what's next.
Fantastic, appreciate it. Yeah, the early days of Formula E, very much remember them. The car swaps, very interesting for new viewers, but in a very short time, like you said, to see how that transitioned into a single car in a very short period of time, it just shows how obstacles are being overcome very quickly. So appreciate that. Rodi, any of your observations?
Yeah, let me add, Álvaro, that the power was 20% more. Now it's 20% more than Gen 1, and for the same volume. Sorry to be fussy, but I was leading the team developing that battery when I was working in McLaren. And of course, I am very proud and proud father of this incredible change driven by the FIA and Formula E. And it's not over yet, because also next generation will be another leap in the future. I mean, I just recall what's happening with some commercial vehicle that are using the same volume of the battery, but in 9 years, the range has been the triple. So we know that the evolution is there. We are in the very beginning of the development of the batteries. We're still waiting for the next big change in technology for the lithium ion, but then there will be the solid state battery coming in, which will reduce the volume and the weight by going down to 25% of the existing weight. So of course this is all happening, but companies are already targeting the mass production, and it will make a big difference. And I'm sure we will have completely different conversations in the future summit about green racing. On our side, of course, we know that there will be obstacles. I'm sure we will sleep on a few banana peels. I mean, this is inevitable. I mean, I know, and I share with Alejandro one philosophy. I mean, if you don't want to risk, just stay at home on a sofa and you just watch the show. We are business people. We are entrepreneur, and it is a matter of acting. And as a racer, on top of this, we know and we feel the sense of urgency that the world is living, and we won't contribute with a motorsport approach, which is the real distinctive factor of our industry, especially when it's right in the agenda, looking at what's needed in the world, and not only building self-referential exercise. And I have to say, Formula E is testament of this incredible journey. We will try to play our part on the marine industry. I don't want to go too long, but I just like to say that, of course, we feel lucky enough of having, as I mentioned earlier, the experience in the motorsport, four wheels, and the high end of the automotive. And of course, we will take a lot of lessons learned. And I would like to mention only two that we will implement. First of all, the mix of technical culture that I mentioned, for sure, will contribute to accelerate. The other one is we have understood and we have learned that to design a new mobility vehicle, you need to completely change the approach of the design. Of course, the battery, in terms of challenge, will carry the burden of extra weight today, but as I say, this is a transitional period. And so having more weight, you need to review the way you design the powerboat in my case. And this is why we went through the ingenuity of Sophie Horn from Silver Technology and the engineering capabilities of Victory Marine that is going to engineer and manufacture the powerboat. We are reviewing completely the philosophy of design of a race powerboat, and will be the first race powerboat on a foil, because we reckon that in the speed window that we are interested into, the foiler will introduce a massive efficiency. And in the future, the plan is to start a competition among the manufacturer and the teams in order to keep the same top speed, but challenge them to find the smaller and the minimum power that they need to still achieve the top speed. So the competition won't be to go faster and faster, but to reduce as much as possible the impact on racing, on the emission, and so on. So again, it's all a matter of algorithm. If you drive human beings, especially racers, towards a healthy and advantageous competition for the commercial application, I think you can go very far. Then, of course, it's not only a matter of vehicle, vessel, there is all the life cycle assessment. There are broader challenges that Álvaro mentioned in his previous answer. Again, we want to act. We want to stand up and do something about it. And this is the contribution we want to leave in the marine industry, and also for the love of the water and the oceans, the sea, the lake, and everything that we all share.
Really fantastic. As an engineer by trade, I'm fantastically enthusiastic about a new challenge. when it comes to evaluating how you really race and perform. So appreciate that.
Thanks.
Agustin and Teo. Agustin, you're next. Interested in your observations, both of you, on the production side, but we'll start with Agustin.
Sure, thank you. Like our college presence here today, we will suffer the technological barrier, difficulties in develop electric race cars, and in our case, with a lot of difference, because we are not based in in the prototypes ones. We use production cars, and in the beginnings and in our championship, we work with the P85 Plus Tesla Model S, but we need to fix it a lot of problems. Work a lot in the beginnings with the support of the manufacturer. It's not the actual situation, because we now have the Tesla support in the technical side, but in the beginnings are very, very, very complicated. To say something in concrete, the Model S, like other production cars, are not ready to be a part of the championship. We need to introduce, of course, the safety parts in order to the International Federation regulations, touch of course, the safety part of the cars, introduce the roll cage, introduce improvement in the brake system, in the suspension, extinguish system, etc. You know, everything changed, and this is a lot of work, and without the support of the manufacturer, this very, very, very hard work. But we can cover. We can now we can train our engineers in the Tesla bridge. This is the name of the program. And of course, this changed everything. And the second step, we work with the P100. This is a more performant car, but like a P85, the powertrain and the battery are not ready to support the hard intensity use in the circuit, of course, because this is not the objective of the car. The car are designed for extend the range. Of course, is a powerful in acceleration, etc., but not in the long term. This is the truth. But now we are lucky, because in the case of Tesla, and I hope to in the case of the other manufacturers, Tesla improved a lot this part of the thermal management and powertrain in the Model S plate, for example. Probably you know this car, the Tesla Model S plate, make the record in the Nürburgring, North Shelf, and in other circuits, can demonstrate the very great performance. And our proposal is transfer this development to the manufacturer. We want not entry in the powertrain development. Yes, of course, in the adapted the car to be ready to use in the circuit, in the special parts of the safety, but not in the powertrain. But I think we are now in the great way, in the great direction, because the manufacturers can see the value in improve the performance of the car in the circuit use. The Model S is an example. But others are coming now, like Porsche or Audi with the e-tron GT, and we are lucky to make the safety changes in order to join these cars in our championship. Of course, we are now in terms of development, we are focused in the preparation of the new EGT prototype based in the Tesla Model S plate, and you know, it's more powerful and faster electric propulsion car at the moment. Other incredible innovations related with the interaction of the drivers and the worldwide public around the world, because the connectivity of the cars, electric cars especially, is very powerful. We can put a sound devices inside of the cockpit, or use the laptop, the screen, in order to connect the drivers to the worldwide audience, etc. We have a lot of possibilities in this matter. Another innovation related to the energy teams management as well, but I cannot reveal the secret at the moment, because we prefer putting in the market when the championships are very close to start. Please be patient for this.
Fantastic. Agustin, looking forward to when you're able to share more details, but it's fantastic path so far. So thank you very much. And finally, Theo, your thoughts on some of the obstacles or some of the performance gaps you might be seeing, and what your thoughts are on that.
Challenges and obstacles are on a daily basis, and it's also a matter about deciding which compromise to make. It's mostly about batteries. And fun fact is that our early prototype of the go-kart was with Tesla batteries. Then we switch. But yeah, it's a matter whether you want weight, you want power, you want range or fast charge. It's many factors. And when you aim to make a great driving experience, yeah, of course, still the technology is not there yet, and you have to make compromises. Our latest challenges is making a custom cooling system for the batteries, because we want to take the maximum capacity out of them and power. So yes, but if I iterate what Álvaro and Rodi mentioned, the technology is developing at, I think, extremely fast pace. So just for 4 years, Álvaro mentioned such a huge improvement in capacity and range. I'm very bullish that also with the solid state batteries, hopefully coming soon in production, the technology will not be an obstacle. It will be an enabler to make even better products.
Fantastic. Thank you, Theo. Yeah, the technology continues to move so quickly. I think by the next time we have another one of these racing summits, we'll already have some new technologies in our vehicles. So fantastic. We're getting some great conversation in the comment sections, general questions. I'd like to pause here and take one of them that seems pretty interesting. Just as a general time check, if we could go through, and this is an open question to the panel that comes from Matthew Tiebergein. The question is, could you give us some detailed examples of how to offset your carbon footprint? So this is an open question to the panel. Feel free to unmute yourselves, chime in, but let's keep a tight answer if you don't mind. Thank you.
Well, maybe I get this one, as Formula E has done already a big project in this specific topic. I mean, as I said, the first thing is to quantify, to quantify and calculate very, very detailed your global footprint, in terms of logistics, second life for the batteries, plastic on site, etc. So for the ones that you cannot offset, there are many different initiatives. So one is to invest in gold standards and verified carbon standard United Nations projects. So in this race to zero that President Calderón mentioned, there are many projects in different countries. We have invested in each single city and country that we have raised. And I will put some examples. For example, in Mexico and Chile, we invested in landfill gas generation. In Morocco, we invested in wind power energy generation. And in China, for example, in biomass projects. So all these projects are led by international organizations. So you have the the stamp that they are certified, and the United Nations are doing an amazing leadership on these kind of things. So those are the ones where you directly low the carbon footprint of the ones that you can low down. But there are also other initiatives that you do with partners. As I said, with Michelin, for example, we did an amazing job with tires. So in the first years, you could not change tires in between free practice, qualification, and the race. So that's an enormous save of tires in its race. Now, every tire that is used is completely recycled. The big one, I think the biggest challenge here is logistics, how to move the circles around the world, being as sustainable as possible. So here with DHL, we did an amazing job not using airplanes when it's not necessary, a lot of ground transportation, trains. So we created this green corridor in order to low down. So there are many different activities to low down in the first instance, and then others to actually buy a carbon footprint bonus.
Wonderful progress. Anybody else from the panel have any thoughts on the question?
Well, one trend that of course is super interesting and that I'm following very closely is the carbon capture. So again, very low TRL level for the moment, but replicating what the mangrove does naturally as a plant through technology, of course, will be an incredible change for especially for the cities, for the big cities. So yeah, as a general trend, this is where everybody's looking at.
Fantastic. Great. So we'll move on to another very quick panel question that comes from our viewers here. There's a fantastic question about, I assume this means mainly for the racing events or the racing series, but it could be more general than this, but it comes from Eduardo Ferrarini. This question is, where does the electricity come from? That's a very hot topic, I think, in some of the racing. So if you can share your gentlemen can share your thoughts on what the generation looks like or where the sources is, that would be appreciated. Who wants to take it? It's a hot topic.
Okay, me, for example, like we prefer permanent circuits for any aeration for economical one, but also because in the permanent circuits we can use the local sustainable energy produced on site. I can put an example. Vallelunga circuit have a 1 mega power of solar panels working, and Assen circuit in Netherlands also have a 1.5 megawatts of solar production panels, and this is for us is very important. No, this is the first point in this direction. The other one is our proposal want to use big containers of battery pre-recharge using sustainable energy and remain in the circuits. We don't know can move these resources because we are entering contradiction with the emissions in the logistical side and of course an economical side too. This is very important. This is from our electricity point of view.
Fantastic.
On this one, I might also add something that it's a curiosity. Us on the first years with the Generation 1 car, we used to charge the cars, all the cars in the paddock, with aqua fuel. And this is a generator that was coming from diesel, and we converted into this combustible that it comes from the algae, from the sea, and it's completely zero emission. Actually, in some events, we did some cocktails. You could even like sip it. It was so sustainable, no? that we, in some of the original gala dinners or after parties, we even did some cocktails with this food. So this is how technology can be executed in this kind of projects. But again, then the new generation, the generation 2, cannot be powered with that kind of technology. So we are searching new ways. Up to now, we are connected to the grid of the cities that we race, but we are looking for new technologies to see what will be the next aquafoil in Formula E Championship.
Fantastic. Teo, you have some questions, some observations?
Yeah, just a quick one. Yeah, it's about also a chicken or the egg problem, because some of most of the tracks are still lacking the infrastructure, the green energy, and we experience such challenges like bringing several go-karts on the track, and we don't have enough power, and we'll be the biggest hypocrites if we bring diesel generators. And obviously, the smaller events and tracks, they cannot afford this high-end generators. Álvaro, zero-emission generators. Álvaro mentioned. So it's about also thinking about infrastructure for zero-emission races. Solar panels, great.
Valid observations. Yes, there's a lot of growth to be had in all levels, right, including the eco karts and whatnot. So, Teo, while we have you, I'd like to ask a specific question to you about your team, your world-class team and culture. So, in your words, what really makes your team unique in this creative space?
I would say the fast iteration, like being a small team, very agile and very lean, give us a chance to iterate really fast, obviously learn from the pioneers in this field. And yeah, as you said, a real enthusiastic and ambitious, young, talented engineers. And not only engineers, designers as well. So yeah, but I would say it's quick iterations and being a small team.
Fantastic. Appreciate it. Okay, we have one more question we'll take from the comment section. So from AFDG, Alphon du Garage. Question about basically general Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3. Is there plans for Formula E to have a junior series?
Well, that's one of the most important parts in motorsport, no? The big part of the pyramid. How young generations want to become in the old times like a Formula 1 driver. We have different initiatives with the FIA. Actually, one which I like very much is the Girls on Track. So we choose certain tracks around the calendar, and we encourage women to get into the cars, young ladies, and we do like electric cars, tracks inside the main track of Formula E. So this is not only encouraging a young audience, but also with this message of being more inclusive. Formula E, it has been super inclusive in terms of gender. If I'm not wrong, we are the championship with more women working in the championship, and not only with drivers that we had women drivers since the first season, but there are also marshals, marketing executives. I mean, we are very happy to have developed this strategy. And in terms of new drivers, there has been, as Formula E, we have, I think, enough of a challenge getting on with the series to start us creating new ones. But we have opened this pinnacle that we talked at the beginning, no? This new electric pyramid. And for sure, we are seeing now like Extreme E or Agustin's project that will be below the Formula E championship, and for sure new Formula 2, Formula 3 series full electric will appear, right? So there's one beautiful example of how this has developed very, very quickly, is that before like Formula 2 like the original GP2 in motorsport drivers, all life dreaming to become a Formula One driver. So last year, for the first time, the Formula 2 GP2 winner didn't go to Formula One and came to Formula E, right? So that's an incredible message of how now you have more options after GP2 and young drivers dream to become Formula E drivers and not Formula One.
I've heard it's quite a learning experience between the two, obviously, but it's a fantastic testament to just how important Formula E is to the drivers themselves too. So
yeah,
appreciate it. Thank you. So we have a very good question that's coming directly to Rodi that I would like to ask from Sid. And so we have Sid asking a couple of questions. How can the marine industry benefit from E1? And do you believe E1 will close the gap between sport and marine industry, since the industry is not linked to powerboating at all? So general thoughts on that, Rodi.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, very good question. This is part of our risk register. In the beginning, when we were drawing our strategy, we definitely put this into consideration. The way we will contribute to the marine industry is simply showing that you can run very fast. You can enjoy the waters, the water mobility, and have fun with an electric version in full safety. I mean, I think safety is one of the barriers that we have to work on, and of course we will work on. Consider that this is also part of our challenge. There are no safety rules yet from the federation, so we will write together with the federation the safety rules. And I strongly believe that what we learn from the sport environment, which as always is an extreme environment, will be beneficial to the commercial use, for the safety of people just enjoying cruising around on waters. So this is one of the example. I haven't mentioned earlier, but I reckon we are one of the few, or maybe the first championship that is born already with a clear commercial vision. So E1 series is born based on the design of a Norwegian designer called Sophie Horn that I've mentioned earlier, and her plan was to develop a sort of zip car of the water, so sharing power boating based on full electric foilers. And so while we are designing, of course, exciting, fast, and very agile powerboat, we will think of final public application, commercial application, and I believe that this route will be followed by many others, as it has happened on the 4 and 2 wheels, including the scooters, by the way. So this is one aspect. There was another part of the question which is extremely important. So, of course, Motonautic is not in the best possible shape. Motonautic up to the 2000, if I may say, was a very popular sport with a lot of people going to the races, C1, P1, and so on. Then, of course, there have been some very tough accidents that raised some doubt on the safety and the sustainability in this respect of the sport. I believe that the fans that are close to the waters, to the seas, the oceans, they've been the first fans to react to the change. Whoever is cruising around, either with a powerboat or with a sailing boat, I am sure they cannot appreciate a vessel going straight at 150, 200 miles per hour. I mean, I get the technical challenge. I'm an engineer. I'm fascinated by that. But, especially the new generation, definitely don't get it, 100%. So what I would like to say with the biggest humility and respect for Motonautic is that we are in a Motonautic federation, but we are a new kind of sport that is based the future fortune on 3 cultures: sailing, Motonautic, and motorsport. And I have to say, I'm incredibly proud to say that the first approach that we had from potential teams joining the championship most of them are coming from the motorsport and sailing. which is for me is already an incredible achievement. Of course, the Motorsports people, they are very, they are expert of the domain. They're waiting for our boat to be on the water and fly at 50, 60 knots. And I am sure that after that, they will get on board.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rodi, for answering that question. It's a great time to start with a blank slate and really create some new drives in motorsport here, especially in the motor-native areas. So appreciate that. Well, thanks. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have, dear panelists. It's been a fantastic discussion. You've contributed quite a lot to our viewership. So viewers, if you like what you saw and heard, we'd strongly recommend that you continue to follow and support each of these amazing leaders and their events and initiatives in their own paths to reaching zero emissions in motorsports. You can find this particular panel interview for you to watch and replay on the Green Racing News YouTube page. I would like to personally thank Álvaro, Rodi, Agustin, and Teo each for their valuable time and insight on the topic. And gentlemen panel, I mean this, I wish you a healthy, safe, and successful 2021, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, guys. And we're showing a very nice comment from Elysium. Let's build that ladder. I want to be a native electric racer from karting to the top. So let's make it happen, guys. Thank you so much. And we're gonna follow the event today with an executive interview with the co-founder and CEO of ESC, Electric Scooter Racing. So, subscribe to the channel and enjoy the interview. Thank you so much, guys.
The world is changing faster than ever before. In technology, mobility, media, entertainment, and sport, disruption is creating new movements, new communities, and new opportunities.
Now is the time for smarter choices. On our city streets, people are demanding new ways to travel, and millions are choosing micromobility as a cheaper, more environmental friendly alternative to the car.
We want to be part of this new mobility movement. At ESC, we are racing the fastest, most advanced e-scooters you've ever seen.
In some of the most iconic city locations in the world, we're bringing accessible, sustainable, thrilling racing to the heart of the cities.
For everyone, we are building a new micromobility sport free of the baggage of the past.
It's time to react.
It's time to change.
It is time to escape.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this exciting interview that I have today. We have e-scooter Hrag Sarkissian. Please apologize the way how I pronounce your name.
Not at all. Thanks, Juan.
Yes, we expect today to have your intervention because I'm excited with the participation that you have been and your activities in this awareness about sustainability. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining the virtual summit. And today, it's quite interesting to understand how the ecosystem is growing. DHL is being part of the zero emission 2050. We know that 2050 is still a long way off. What will be the future like? How will the technologies going to be implemented? How we're going to work? So if we don't want to overwhelm the planet, of course, we need to do something today. We need to change the way how we do things. And one of the decisions that we take now, it's how we're going to determine how the future of the planet is going to be. And I heard in the video, as I was watching you, when you're watching it, you were saying something very interesting that caught my attention. So first of all, before I start any questions, tell us about you. What can you tell me about e-scooter?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, very happy to be here, and really thanks for having me. Just from an initial note, I think we're very much aligned here, and it's really kind of one of the mission behind what we're doing with ESC. So a little bit of background, a little bit of history. Most of our team and my co-founders come from a motorsport background, so we all understand the role of racing and how it's really improved and accelerated the development of safety and technology and mobility. I myself have been in racing, but not as long as these guys. But I've also been a very active tech investor. So I've done quite a lot, with my family on the venture capital, but really focusing on new technology, sustainability, and mobility is really a space that I have a lot of affinity towards. So essentially, when we look at the micromobility sector, we can see that it's a space that has grown very rapidly, over the last few years. It's because it's a requirement. So cities really need that. Cities, they need a new transportation mode as part of the whole urban ecosystem to help reduce pollution and congestion. So taking action really starts now, as you said, and micromobility really is one of those movements that are happening. So the space has been growing, much faster than we anticipated. It's been a couple of years. We started to see the birds and the limes come into place, but now the ecosystem has grown, much quicker, especially with COVID, right? Because COVID just made it so much more relevant and urgent. Because we were talking about micromobility or e-scooters to be part of the transportation ecosystem, but now it's also an alternative to public transport, right? So
you're saying something that caught my attention, Hrag, because today is normal, and you can take your scooter and go to the office if you're living close by. But this was not the way we were doing and living 2 years ago. So how the idea came up, guys? How the idea came up?
Yeah, I mean, look, it happened. Let's say it happened a couple of years ago, right? And I think we see where Bird basically overnight threw a bunch of electric scooters on the streets of Santa Monica, and it just happened, right? And the big, we've seen an evolution in transportation in the sense that we went from the ride sharing technology to the let's say to the docked sharing, right? So like the city bikes, the Barclays bikes, or the Velib in France, which are our docked concept. But what really changed is when we started to see the dockless system, where you could just basically, transportation on demand. You could essentially grab an electric scooter wherever you're from and use it to move around. So the change has been very quick. The change has been very rapid. And so what happens, the main problem with this is that because it's been so quick, we've seen very fragmented implementations, across different geographies. So basically, we haven't seen, let's say, consolidation of best practices. In some cities, scooters can't ride on the sidewalks, but they want them to, so they're forced to ride on the roads, which is quite dangerous. Or in other places, they'll say that, riders need driver's license, which is also kind of crazy. And so, there are quite a few pain points. And, another thing that people complain about, let's say, is about scooter clutter, right? In that they're all over the sidewalks and inconvenient because of this whole dockless shift. But all these points are a result of this fragmented implementation. We look at Berlin, on the other hand. Berlin is a city that has done a really good job integrating micromobility. They've built the infrastructure. So essentially, we need, for us, is how can we help champion this movement? How can we be at the forefront of this? How can we use racing, or let's say, how can we create a platform that brings all the different stakeholders around the table to accelerate the development in safety and technology and safe implementation of micromobility? And the answer is simple: racing. Racing has been a proven incubator for transportation and mobility.
Well, racing is in the heart of everybody. I mean, you can see everything started from, and one of the things that I call my attention from you guys, it's how you move it from vehicles, electric vehicles, formerly IE, to micromobility. So you are like the transition guys who are moving the people to make it more accessible, not only to watch, but make it, exciting. And so could you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I'm picking up on your words when you're saying the championships. We see a lot of championships, and you were saying about awareness. You need to create awareness, and that's what you're doing with so many championships. But what is the ultimate goal beyond that? I mean, how do e-scooters support this goal to create awareness?
Absolutely. So there's a word that you used earlier, or two words that I'm gonna piggyback on. You said relevance and you said accessibility, right? So relevance is really important because today micromobility has become relevant not only to people living in the cities, but really to the younger generation. Today you look at 4 or 5 year old children. They're all riding not electric scooters. They're riding the 3-wheel push scooters. So the scooter has really started to infiltrate in various forms at a younger age. So this is really important, and this is something that we want to touch and amplify on. And then the second point really is accessibility. So for a sport or for a racing or a championship to be able to spread awareness or to spread to influence, it needs to be accessible. People need to relate to it. It needs to be close to the people, and this is really what ESC is all about. And so accessibility, is on various fronts. It's on the way you get to the events, the type of the events, but also how you get to race in it. And we can talk about each of these elements, as we continue our conversation.
Cool. You mentioned something about the accessibility and how people get into these competitions. I'm going to give you an example. In Miami, from one day to another, we were flooded from scooters everywhere, in every corner. I was like, what is this? How do you use it? And then it's like, is there an app? How do you rent it? Is there an insurance? How can you tell me a little bit more of technicalities about this? Because, is it safe? The speed what is the max speed? Could you tell us a little bit more about it, about the technicalities?
Yeah. So, let me first say that all the points that you touch right now, this is exactly why we're launching. We launched the ESC. It's specifically to help people, to help the space really navigate through these different pain points. So, for example, we talk about let's say how to use or how to ride electric scooters, right? This is part of the awareness campaign. It's because ultimately, by racing, you're messaging, you're influencing. So for us, the heroes, the athletes that we create, they will become heroes who in turn can influence the younger generation. They can, educate them around the safety, around how to ride safely, around the technology. And on the other hand, from a development perspective, really it's about accelerating the development in safety and technology. So whether it's, looking at different types of vehicles or different safety measures or safety systems around an electric scooter, or even around the infrastructure for micromobility.
It's very interesting. When you're saying this, I'm recalling Ford with a company that is Spin, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, that's correct.
Right. So everybody now is understanding the importance of and the relevance of this. And you mentioned something important, education. One thing is awareness. The second part is education. And there is a liaison in between, which is technologies, platform applications, activities, championships. So how do you, we were talking about 2 years ago. Now we're talking now. How do you see motorsports in 10 years, in 5-10 years? What's your vision about it?
So I think it's a good question, right? So there's always a question that people ask is the future of motorsport electric? And if we all believe that transportation and mobility will be electric, it's going to be the same thing for motorsport. We have to maintain this relevance. So motorsport on the long run, I do believe, and we all believe that it's going to be electric. But more importantly, motorsport needs to be accessible. It needs to be inclusive. So that means that we need to be able to inspire. We need to be able to inspire, let's say, the younger generation, for them to aspire to become an ESC champion. We want basically every 4 or 5-year-old kid to one day dream of becoming an ESC champion, because this is how you get to people. This is the power of sport, right? It's the emotional connector. It's the power to influence. It's the power to change. So accessibility, fairness, inclusiveness, these are all extremely important in our let's say part of our mission.
I really like that. Accessibility, inclusivity, fairness, because it's not only about developed economies. It's
correct.
Countries in development as well. We're talking about Latin America, we're talking about Africa, Middle East, Asia, certain countries where you don't see that type of infrastructure that well developed, but you guys seems to say this is an opportunity. In my vision, in the view, in 10 years, accessibility is going to drive, is the fuel of the economy. Because now you have in the base of the pyramid of the economy, many people using the services, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. No, right. I think this is exciting. I really congratulate the efforts that you're doing. Tell me more about the championship. Where do you think with COVID, how it's going to happen? You guys are facing any issues, or how do you plan to do this?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's a really good question, and obviously, first of all, we actually launched in July last year, so we basically launched in the middle of the pandemic. So I think that was quite interesting because it also allowed us to really see how the market would react. And when we first launched, it was something that we really pondered when was the right time, but we realized that COVID made this, really accelerate the conversation and brought the conversation forward. So we said, okay, let's launch now and let's see what people think, how people react. And we were very pleased to see that it was very well received. People understood what we're after and they understood the need for it. So talking a little bit more about, let's say, our races and our schedule, I mean, there's no secret, right, that COVID is around. So this is something that we have to manage. And it's something that we've always considered from day one. So this is why 2021 really is our opening season, which we call season 0, because we'd be aiming, would be ahead of ourselves if we said that we wanted to have a full-blown season and let's say around the world. So that's really not feasible for 2021. And the other thing is we don't want to launch a new sport without being able to have fans attend and be present and engage at the sport, because ultimately everything we're doing is about fan engagement, is about interaction between the fans and the riders and the community. So this is why we're starting with season 0. It's going to be 2 to 3 events by probably towards the end of the year, between Q3 and Q4, and then hopefully we should be announcing actually our first event quite soon. So we're quite excited about that. But for 2022, it's a completely different story. We're already working on a full-blown calendar with 8 to 10 rounds, really racing globally in Europe, in US, and eventually, Latam and Asia very quickly as well. So I think we have a realistic roadmap. We have a clear roadmap, and so I think we're quite excited about that.
For sure, it's gonna keep your agenda quite busy. 21 and 22. So I wish you all the best, Hrag. Thank you very much for this interview, and hope to keep seeing you in 2022 as well in Racing News.
Absolutely.
Take
It'll
care.
be a pleasure. Thanks, Juan. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for watching us. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Juan. And we're going to have a new panel talking about motorsports and car manufacturers. Actually, Juan is going to be back. I think Juan is back. You had time to change shirts, right? That was an amazing interview, Juan.
Of technology. That's the good thing using these platforms.
So before we bring in the new panelists, I want to highlight, we want to showcase videos. I think the best way to understand what they're doing is just to show videos. So I think from production, they're going to show 4 videos. And then it's going to be over to you, Juan, to welcome our panelists. So enjoy the videos. And so I think we'll have a video from Forza Hydrogen, from Porsche, from QEV, and then we'll be back. Thank you very much for joining, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you again. And Juan, over to you for this fantastic panel with 4 great people. And I know Kevin from Porsche, and happy to see him around. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the conversation.
Thank you, Guillaume. Thank you. I appreciate it for that. And welcome everybody to this discussion. I feel this is going to be an energetic conversation. We have Porsche. We have very experienced people, QEV Technologies. We have Porsche Hydrogen, which is the first time, actually, I must confess, the first time I'm going to interview someone developing hydrogen technology. So also we have QEV, Joan, but let's stop talking. Let me go straight to the point, guys. I'm going to welcome you. Thanks for being part of this discussion, and I believe it's going to be really insightful. First of all, because we have people who understand and live electric vehicles in their blood. I mean, you guys are living this day to day. So I just want to make a brief intro. My name is Juan. I'm working in DHL for more than 20 years, and DHL has been a founding partner of Formula E for 7 years now, since 2013. And we have a very clear vision in mind. We want to be the logistics partner on electrification. Moving electric batteries is not like moving a package. So we use these racings as a laboratory to experiment innovations in logistics. And the same thing with the panelists that we have today. And I'm excited to introduce you guys with them so they can share with us their journey into this electrification. And I'm going to start with Mark from 4C Hydrogen. Mark Jan, forgive me and excuse me if I didn't pronounce your last name well. So yeah, guys, we're doing a quick intro and then just we can start rolling on. We can start with you, Mark.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Juan. I'm Mark Jan, actually. I'm the team manager of Forza Hydrogen Electric Racing. So at Forza, we design, build, and race a hydrogen-powered race car. And I'm currently managing this team. And on behalf of them, I'm here.
Perfect. Excellent. Thanks for joining. Next to Jan, you see Kevin Goldvarg, a good friend of us. He's e-performance development manager at Porsche. Kevin, welcome to the house.
Hey Juan, what's up guys? Very nice to have you here. Kevin Goldvarg from Porsche Latin America, covering the region from Mexico all the way down south to Chile and Argentina. And it's a pleasure to join you guys today in this electrifying talk.
Awesome. Now we next with Ovidio. Ovidio Morales is Vice President of Extra Sports Activities in FIM. Ovidio, welcome.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you, my colleagues. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And I represent FIM, the International Motorcycling Federation for Latin America. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Okay, last but not least, Joan Orús, Chief Technology Officer in Hispano, Suiza, and Chief Executive Officer in QEV Technologies, the video that you just watched. Welcome, Joan.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, to invite us. It's a pleasure to be here and on this panel with you. And yeah, we are people really pushing for electric mobility from a long time ago. So happy to be here with all of you.
Great. I think most of you are engineers, aren't you guys?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm an industrial designer.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not exactly an engineer, but been involved in it.
It counts.
Mechanical engineer.
It counts. Guys, I must confess, I mean, when you talk about Formula E, it's something that involves passion, involves innovation, cutting edge technology. It's not a secret for anybody that those racings are used as a laboratory, right, of experiments. And there is a common factor in all of you, in the vehicles that you develop. I know first time, I must confess, Joan, that I heard about Carmen. I didn't know about that. I was clueless. First time that I hear about Force Hydrogen with the Force 8. Taycan is a good product from Porsche, of course. But could you tell me or tell us, the audience, what is your experience developing this product and being part of these racing activities?
Well, if you want, I can start maybe. So yeah, from our point of view, I mean, the experience that we get doing Formula E was amazing. I mean, 6 years in Formula E, just me, we have done. I have done 52 races in Formula E with 9 victories and 24 times on the podium, so not bad. And but really, that experience, it was a successful thing that allow us to get the knowledge to create a road car. So Hispano Suiza is a road car that have really the heritage from Formula E. The experience that we get, how to manage the energy, how to regen, how to play with the dynamics of the vehicle is something that we include on the development of that car. No? So we create an hypercar of 1,000 horsepower, a little bit more than Formula E, but much more weight. We are around 1,900 kilos. And for sure, the experience that we get from Formula E was the key of that project. And we have put everything inside that development to create an amazing car for Hispano Suiza.
That's really interesting. Can you tell us your experience, Kevin?
Of course, I can tell you the experience. It's really something amazing. We're producing something absolutely new for the brand and for the group. Invested over 6 billion euros until 2022 into e-mobility and charging infrastructure. So that really, it's not only that we're saying that we're getting there, but we're also putting the wallet where the mouth is, like the saying goes. Our target is that 50% of new car sales will be electric by 2025. So that's, it might seem very ambitious, but it's absolutely possible. If we think about it, really, manufacturing the Taycan in Zuffenhausen, which is the heart of the brand in Stuttgart, with the iconic 911, for example, is manufactured. It's created using exclusive power from wind, solar, and water. So it's, you know, it's all renewable sources. All rail transport of new cars is also from renewable sources. As from 2020, we're also converting heat generation into biogas, which is also something that we need. All of this so that we have a CO2 neutral production of the Taycan. Not only is it an electric car, but also the manufacturing processes and everything involved in supply chain and logistics and so on, that's also CO2 neutral. So we already applied that to Zuffenhausen. Again, that's where the iconic 911, for example, was manufactured and where the Taycan is manufactured. And now we're also moving that over into Leipzig, which is, for example, where the Panamera, Macan are manufactured. So like Christoph announced in day one of Latam Mobility Summit, we are electrifying Leipzig for the Macan BEV processes. So with the Macan BEV, we're going to have 3 drivetrains or 3 different drivetrain manufacturing under the same roof in Leipzig with BEVs, plug-in hybrids, and internal combustion engines. So it's really an experience.
Okay, before I pass to Mark, I must tell you guys that hydrogen, I mean, you hear Elon Musk talking about hydrogen that is not viable. But then you see Toyota developing the solution. Now you see Mark in Force Hydrogen developing this. Mark, what exciting. Can you tell us your experience about that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Juan. Yeah, at Forza we've been working with hydrogen already since 2007. Back then hydrogen was pretty small, but in Delft, in the Netherlands, we already had a dream. And we've been developing on this technology basically since then. And last year we became the first hydrogen-powered race car to ever beat petrol-powered cars in an official race. So yeah, that really was a world's first, and I think we've really already shown that hydrogen really is a feasible alternative, and hydrogen electric racing is also a very feasible form of energy to use in racing. And of course, we do that from the vision also that this can be a great energy carrier for the future, also in normal day-to-day transportation, and that's what we want to keep showing with building and designing our new cars in the future.
Yes, I think just to move from you, Mark, to a video. How do you put all those guys in the same event? Because passion, innovation, and cutting-edge technologies also apply to FIM. What is the experience in your case, Vito?
Thank you, Juan. FIM has a sustainability policy, and is committed. FIM, as an international federation, is committed to develop and promote sustainability programs and enhance positive impact on the environment. By using that, we promote alternative energies, organizing and supporting events in two-wheel vehicles, of course.
Yes.
But a commission, and the commission is under the charge and deals with the matters of making all the racing events sustainable. As for that, as I mentioned before, we are part of a community. We're making this grow, and we've heard this before in our Green Racing Virtual Summit in previous panels. It's about education. It's about making people react, and a big awareness campaign that sustainable racing, sustainable vehicles can make the difference on our environment.
I'm gonna pick on that, Ovidio. You said awareness. I think every single one of us here in this event, and hopefully the audience, can bring that to their lives, to their day-to-day, because each of us has a role on it. And I'm gonna take that and go back to the electric vehicles. When you talk about electrification, I mean, an electric vehicle is powered either by battery packs or hydrogen tanks. Is that correct, Mark? Hydrogen tanks is the right expression?
Yeah, that is definitely the right expression.
Right. So when you have that and you talk about pioneering technology and engineering, how complex is to translate those innovations from testing to production? And I'm gonna start first with Joan. You could tell me, because you have two hats. You have Chief Technology Officer and you have Chief Executive Officer hats. What's your experience on that, Joan?
Yeah, okay. I mean, to transform to think on the industry always is much more difficult, because you have to take in account all the regulations and homologation. So for sure is one step. And also you have to take in account reliability. Obviously, motorsport needs also reliability, but the life of the parts and the life and the cycles that you have to test is much more short on life. You can replace parts sooner. So at the end, the technology of electric vehicles, from the battery and from the motors and software to manage all the vehicle is similar. And this is the reason that really you can use the experience from races to road, that this is the goal. But obviously, homologation, certifications, validations, reliability is the key point to make this step. Is the place where you have to invest much more when you are going from race to road, and the part that you have to increase your knowledge on that area.
You have expectations, Joan, to expand your footprint, or you have a niche market only in Spain, or you have Europe? How does it work in your case?
No, in our case, from our company, from QED, we with the experience that we had on races was not enough to change the world. I think that races is good for marketing. It's good to explain to the world that the electric vehicle is a reality. But then 3 years ago, we say, okay, this is not enough. We can do races, we can do supercars, okay? We can do cars of 1,000 horsepower. But if we really want to change the world, we have to go to the urban electric mobility. So we start to make products to do all the buses. So we are doing the platforms now for electric buses, and we are selling electric buses around the world. We are selling in Asia, in Philippines and Malaysia, and we are selling in South America. We start in Peru, in Ecuador, in Mexico, in Colombia. Now we go to Chile. So we really think that the urban transport is the future in a short term. We have to change the cities, and we have to convince the people that electric vehicle is the future. So why not start with electric transportation? No? The cities have to change and to show to the people that electric vehicles are real and a real possibility. So electric transportation, we think that is the key to convince the people. It makes sense for the cycles that they are doing and the range that they have. So we are pushing really hard on that area to give solution to manufacturers around the world, and we are selling platforms of electric buses.
I really like to hear that, Joan, because you're a really catalyzer of this electrification. I mean, this transition into a more sustainable energy.
Congratulations for that. There is a question here for Mark. I was going to ask you something, Mark, but someone is saying here that it seems more sense to make a ship racing using hydrogen than cars, and the efficiency and the ability of water to produce green hydrogen looks as big issues against battery EVs. That's a question from Edwin Sorilla. What do you think about that, Mark?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. First, I think the efficiency of hydrogen is a very big point which we're currently also working on. And I think the big promise here that hydrogen has that lays basically with what really is green racing, because where do we get our energy from? And we get our energy from the wind farms, for the solar farms. And as we know, like the wind doesn't blow always, the sun doesn't shine always. And that's only from an availability perspective, but also when you see where this electricity can be developed in the cheapest way, you see that it is not everywhere. Like for example, when I look to where I live personally in the Netherlands, we don't have this much sun, and when we look to other places around the world, solar energy is like in the Sahara, it would be like 5 times as cheap and as sustainable. That means, so then when you like lose a percentage of hydrogen, so to say, in developing it, let's say you lose 20%, but you use energy that is basically in itself a few times as cheap, then you still have a net win, and still it is possible to deliver cheap hydrogen, and that is also what we use in our car. So yeah, I think really from a sustainability perspective, hydrogen really has the potential, but then it really needs to be produced en masse by really these really big green farms.
Is it scalable, Mark? I mean, what are the biggest constraints or issues that you have when you talk about hydrogen and make it scalable?
Well, that depends. When you look to the production side, it's about efficiency mostly. So developing this hydrogen, you need a hydrogen fuel cell basically, which brings the hydrogen and fuel, the hydrogen and the oxygen together. That's what happens in our car, and then the hydrogen is translated into electricity, and this electricity powers our car, and that's what we actually drive on. That's why it's a hydrogen electric vehicle. So in this side, hydrogen is very scalable. You can like just a fuel cell is like it's like this size, and you can like just modularly stack multiple upon each other. That's what they do. For example, at Daimler, they're developing a fuel cell truck, and then they just put multiple fuel cells next to each other. So in that sense, it's really scalable. When you look to the production of hydrogen, it's more difficult. Then you really need to produce on a larger scale in order to be able to get the production costs down. And that's where you need the big farms for. So for example, in Saudi Arabia, they're building a complete city for about 10 million people, which will be completely powered by hydrogen in 2025. And they're doing that with like large solar farms that immediately produce hydrogen. And in that sense, it really has the potential to be efficient.
Right. I'm going to move to Kevin because I'm picking on what QAV said. They started, in innovation, you never end up when you start, right? And that's what QAV gave me with the message. They started with vehicles, now they're talking about buses, and they're expanding the global footprint. Kevin mentioned you guys a large wallet, $6 billion you mentioned, Kev. And you're not only sitting on one vehicle, you're also talking about charging stations, partnerships. So when you talk about this technology and engineering translated into innovations from testing to production, what's your case in Latin America? Your experience?
So it really boils down to the Porsche principle and the core of the brand, which is intelligent performance. And that's composed of 4 main factors. One is tradition and innovation, which has been around for quite a while. We have performance and everyday usability, which is essentially the mission of e-performance, the mission and the vision. Then we have exclusivity and social acceptance. Thinking everybody does desire a Porsche at some point, for sure. And then design and functionality. It must be very, very easy to use and very user-friendly. So these are the promises that every single Porsche really gives. right? So racing is where we develop our passenger cars essentially, and the technology transfers over from the racetrack to the road. And let me give you some examples of that. In 2010, for example, we had the 911 GT3R hybrid in the racetrack, and then consequently we have the Cayenne and the Panamera S hybrid passenger cars. Then in 2014, we went to, we had the 919 hybrids in Le Mans, winning victories in 3 years in a row consecutively. And then that same technology is translated over to our Panamera and Cayenne SE hybrid, which are the plug-in hybrids, and of course the 918 Spider, which I'm sure everybody knows, or probably even has a small one somewhere around the desk. And now we're in Formula E, and we're translating that same technology over to the Taycan. So really the main point here is that there's always close cooperation between motorsports and the passenger vehicle design. So even, for example, the factory team in Weissach, that's where we test all our products, has its own high voltage laboratory. And that's, for example, where they set up testing rigs for transmissions and for electric machines and so on. And then that's really the same places where we test the race cars. That's where we test the passenger cars. And same thing happens with the Formula E cars. It's the same test rigs as our series production electric vehicles, or the Taycan. So really, the main point here is that motorsport and series production, the engineers work side by side here, so that when you purchase a Taycan, you're essentially getting into a piece of Formula E.
Nice. Ovidio, can you tell us how FIM?
Yes, Juan. FIM, I would like to address the topic in two different points. The first one is about awareness, and FIM is doing two things. One of them is doing an environmental trophy. That means you can. We have a prize giving ceremony with the organizers that have green events, and also we have a program of ambassadors. The other part of would like to address the question is reinforcing what Joan and Kevin said, and that would be what is FIM doing in racing, and that goes back into everyday use. We started in 2019 with the Moto E World Championship. Our Italian rider Matteo Ferrari won it for the first time. Last year, the season champion was Jordi Torres from Spain. And this year in 2021, we're having 7 races scheduled for this season starting in May. So FIM is working on electric vehicles now, and it's very, very popular. And also, FIM recently opened a lab, and that would be for certifying products for not only racing, but for everyday use.
You know, it's interesting and it's funny sometimes when I remember, I'm trying to recall the experience of DHL starting this logistics racing. We were founding partners of Formula E, and we're just trying to understand what is behind the logistics of this Formula E. You know, it took us to build our own electric vehicles. So again, when we're talking about putting in action in green racing activities, you never know how you're going to stop. And then you think about technicalities and you move to customer experience, design, performance, less technicalities, more about focus on what the audience wants to know, what the end public is gonna expect from the products. And this took me to the next questions in terms of innovations. What do you expect for the new electric vehicles in the coming years? What is your vision on that regards, Mark? Because you're guys that are experiencing every force means any new innovation, right? Force 8 is the latest. It's going to be a Force 9, Force 10, and what are they going to bring?
Well, with Forza, it is mostly about racing. So when we look towards our new cars, basically, we have some new technologies that we really improve on. What we have been developing in-house for the last couple of years is mainly our own balance of plant, which is the system in where the fuel cell operates. So in that, it is really important, also in racing, to recirculate the hydrogen that we use in order so we can take as few hydrogen as possible with us. So that's also from a sustainability perspective very interesting, of course, because if you could take less hydrogen with you, you could drive for longer, and that's already what we see right now. Because in our new car we will take 8 kilos of hydrogen with us, and with that you can basically drive 900 kilometers with a Hyundai Nexo. Yeah, mostly the efficiency. I think that's what we see on the hydrogen perspective. I think they will probably coexist with the electric ones, but from a hydrogen perspective, the efficiency is something we really see improvements in. Also with the new Toyota Mirai that has like a 30% longer range compared to the previous version of a few years ago. So we really see that the hydrogen technology is pretty new, and the efficiency still has a lot of potential, and that's where we're also looking towards.
Interesting. What's your view about this, Joan? What do you think is gonna? I mean, what could we expect? What innovations could we expect in new electrification?
Well, I really think that we have to expect really a lot. I mean, the automotive sector was born maybe 120 years ago, and the electric vehicle was completely forget for more than 100 years. So it's just the last maybe 10 years that the world is agreed finally that the electric vehicle is a solution for the really for the pollution on the cities, no, and just it's the real reason. So now that everybody's agree and everybody's pushing, all the manufacturers are agree that is the future, and the scientifics and the universities, is plenty of new really evolutions that will come on the next years. I mean, I think that we have the lucky time to and I'm really proud to really be on this time of the history, you know, because it's a change time. It's a time that the things are happening. So I'm sure that the new evolutions on the batteries will come. I'm sure that the density of the cells will increase on the next 5 and 10 years. I'm sure that the prices will decrease a lot. I'm sure that the motors will increase efficiency. New technologies will come, new materials will come. So this is just the starting point on the last 5-10 years. So a lot of things will happen, and it will be really nice to live it.
Perfect. Kevin, what is your view about it? Because you know, I want to connect the question focus on Porsche, because as I was mentioning before, this is not only about putting technologies in the race. You are also testing other aspects about the ecosystem around the performance. What do you think we can expect from Porsche in innovation about electrification in EVs? I mean, how you are bringing new technologies, and hopefully you can close something.
Innovation is really a beautiful word for us. Especially not too long ago, scientists declared the Taycan the most innovative car in the world. That was the headline of the article. And that's thanks to a total of 27 new developments of the Porsche Taycan, of which 13, or almost half, are the world's first. So that's really a lot of innovations. And I'm going to explain just a few so you understand how this works.
Right.
And these are not only innovations, but these are also technical similarities between the Taycan and the Formula E car, the 99X. So starting with the motors, we use permanent magnet synchronous motors, and these are compact in design and have a high power density. So it saves a lot in terms of the packaging, yet it provides a lot of punch. They also have a very high efficiency, so that's very good to have a high continuous power, not just a peak like the regular asynchronous motors, but the permanent excited synchronous motors have high continuous power, which really are very beneficial, especially in the track. And also they have, the Taycan has excellent thermal performance, which is very good in order to keep the consistent performance, and of course the whole lifespan of the system. Then as for the batteries, we use 800-volt architecture, which is very high and twice what the industry standard is until now. There's also the maximum power output that this battery can hold is 620 kilowatts, which are really incredible numbers. So what these two combination, or really the 27 innovations when combined, they allow for 265 kilowatts of power recuperation on a series production vehicle or a passenger car for you and your family that you can also take to the truck. You can charge at 270 kilowatts in DC. You can go from 0 to 200 kilometers per hour using launch control 26 times with less than 1 second difference in timing. So that's really, really, really special and innovative. And really the conclusion here, for example, is that the fastest, or the Taycan is the fastest BEV passenger car around the Nürburgring with a time of 7 minutes and 42 seconds. So for any car fan that hears these numbers, it's music to the ears.
Yeah, I mean, there is a driver here mentioning that Elysium, that electric is the future for performance, and it provides power and throttle control. Okay, and when I think about throttle control, I'm recalling, Joan, you mentioned 1,000. What is the unit that you use? 1,000 horsepower? No.
Yes.
How do you transfer control to the pilot? How do you make the driver doesn't lose control? How do you control this technology? It's amazing to hear that, but how do you manage it?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing of the electric vehicles is that you have one motor per wheel, so it's much more easy to make a traction control and a torque vectoring system. You know, so from the software that we have developed, we really have a torque vectoring system that you can manage, which is the torque that you have in each wheel at this moment. So it works like an ESP to control, but including much better. And I think is the future of these vehicles and on high performance vehicles. Not to use a torque vectoring system to regulate at each moment which is the torque that you have in each wheel, and also you can really control the brake, no? Because also you can brake with the motor really easy, no? And save energy on the battery. So the torque vectoring system is the key for the drivers to control the car on electric vehicles with this kind of performance.
What about you, Mark? What do you see when you are developing this power and you try to keep the balance of the innovation that you develop in a vehicle and the racings? You have lived experiences with your pilots driving this power and the throttle. How do you? I mean, does it changes from electric to hydrogen, or is it the same thing? Or what is your experience?
Yeah, there are some changes. Some of the things are, however, also the same. When I hear John talking about four-wheel driving, basically being able to control all the four motors separately, that's also the case for us. However, in terms of how you get your power, of course, it's different. And with a fuel cell is harder to ramp up and ramp down, basically. So there's a certain delay before your fuel cell can get to maximum power, basically. However, in a race, you don't have a few seconds to wait. So that's why we have a quite advanced powertrain that differs. That can quickly get this energy back and make sure you have it at the right moment, at the right time to really get that boost power out when coming out of the corners, for example. So in that instance, there really is a difference, because it from the drivers, it asks to think a lot more about strategy, like when to use your extra power, because you can't use it always. As your hydrogen fuel cell is harder to control, and that's something that in a normal road car wouldn't be a problem, but for us it's really a challenge that we've actually turned it to our advantage, because you can really get this extra power when needed. And I think also well, you guys know actually what supercapacitors do, really being able to get this extra boost power, and that it's also something we use in hydrogen electric vehicles.
I'm going to take a question that someone is asking you here to you, Mark. Hydrogenation. How do you see fuel cell breakthrough technologies such as H2 power paste changing the scenario in the road? You know, to hydrogenation of vehicles for road, air, or water. What do you think about it?
Well, I'm not too familiar with H2 power paste, but I think in general, you can say that hydrogen vehicles, on the short term at least, have more potential for like the longer range, because as of now, we see that, and also the heavy duty, so that goes for water transport basically and air. We also know that Airbus is working with hydrogen at the moment. But for the let's say the urban traffic, the short distances, then electric is at the moment a very viable solution, of course. However, if you look to the longer ranges, it gets more difficult, and that's where hydrogen comes in, because you really have the long range. It's really easy to refuel. Our refueling goes in 3 minutes, which is basically the same as a normal petrol-powered car. So you have the easiness to use, basically, with hydrogen of a conventional petrol-powered vehicle, but you have the green energy of the future. So I think, yeah, that's basically a perfect combination, and especially on the long range, you'll quickly see hydrogen cars coming up, I think.
Okay, I'm moving to a video just to understand from an user's experience standpoint. How do you see innovations on that regards, the activities that FIM is doing? Can you tell us that?
Yes, Juan. I think also technology is part of the what we are doing with motorcycle racing in FIM. We're looking forward for more efficient rechargeable procedures and also for more efficient batteries. FIM laboratory certification program is working on that. But I would say the future is here. The future is now. We've been working several years now with one of our disciplines, which is enduro, and we have already been using certified environmental tires for that. But I would like to address that we not only work on the vehicles itself. We work on sustainable events. We're also looking forward for more disciplines to go electric, for example, trials. And also we would like to have trials, and we're working on that, to have trials as an Olympic exhibition sport for the next Olympics. One thing, of course, is the awareness, as I mentioned before. We have our ambassador program, and those ambassadors are men and women representing different motorcycle disciplines and different cultures. And their work is to spread inspiration and awareness among the fans on the motorcycle community. We have Alex Salvini in enduro, Laia Sanz in cross country, Fujinami in trials, Randy Depunier, which currently competes in the Moto E World Cup, Mark Marquez, which I think most of you should know, he's a world champion on road racing, Red Hancock in Speedway, and most recently from Latin America, Pablo Quintanilla in rally cross country. So in one word, we're looking forward. We're looking into the future now, and in short and long terms. Technology would take part and would be very important, especially as I mentioned in sustainable and efficient rechargeable batteries and procedures.
Right. There are some factors floating on the air, guys, and I'm gonna admit something. There is no one woman in this panel, but women are part of the engineering world. Yesterday I was talking with Guppy, chatting with a mechanical engineer woman, and she was saying she was part of the development plan. When I see 4Z8, the color is pink. When I see women in the Porsche world, they are women as well. But Joan, you tell us, you have women, of course, in this world of racing.
Yeah, on behalf of FIM, John, we have a women's commission.
Say again?
Sorry, I interrupted. I would like to say that we don't only have a sustainability commission, but we also have a women's commission. And the FIM Sustainability Commission has a woman as a director. Katia Juarez, she's the director, and she's in charge of all the world championships. So we've involved women more in the recent years. As I mentioned, we have a women's commission that is very, very important for FIM.
This is how we call it, the X factor. I'm gonna tell you a brief story and then I want to hear your stories as well. When DHL started innovating and developing the electric vehicle, it was not as easy as I want an electric vehicle. Nobody was interested. It was not scalable. Nobody wanted to hear about electrification. So we partnered with a university. We developed the idea, the concept. We start building the product, but something was missing. The X factor was not there. We tried plan A, plan B, plan C. Then a woman came into the board and said, "Why don't you try this?" And this was making ourselves. We can do it ourselves. We can inject the money. Our CFO was saying, "You got free to go to partner with this university. We can acquire this company. We can incorporate the technology in our company, and then we can, became a car maker." Then, when we start talking about inclusiveness, the women start being part of every board in the world because they were bringing these different aspects. Women doesn't think like men, like we do. What is your experience? Because today, DHL, as a policy, 30% of the women boards, city chairs in the world are taken by women. Because we need to inclusive their opinion and their perspectives. How's been your case, guys? Have been women being part of the development, technology, innovation, and all these electrification experiences in your companies?
I'd like to answer. We have, for example, Simona de Silvestro, which is our test pilot for Formula E. Simona, of course, being a lady. At our office, for example, we have 50-50 split between ladies and gentlemen working at the office. In terms of e-performance, I think on 2 days ago, on Wednesday, you heard Latam Guadarrama, which is the e-performance manager in Mexico, really going at it, and they're absolutely magnificent. They really do things different, but in a way that I actually healthily envy.
I'm really happy. I mean, 50% is big. It's a big chunk. What about you, Joan? How do you in QEV technologies or Hispano Suiza leave that women factor?
Yeah, to be honest, we have like only a 10% of the company is for women. I mean, it's a really low number. We are looking like really desperate to find mechanics and engineers that are women that can join us and can help. But to be honest, is the name of the panel, no? From race to road. So I think that now on racing, we have the Extreme E project. An Extreme E project is the first time on the world that you will have a championship where you need a woman driver and a man driver, but on the same conditions, and the time between one and the other will give the victory. So it's just at the same level, and this is the first time that happened in everything. I mean, you cannot find another sport where the level of the woman and the men is at the same level and that of importance. It's the first time, and it's with electric vehicles. It's with Extreme E. So I think that this will be the example, no? I mean, we are on Extreme E with this project, and thanks to Alejandro Ag that had this idea, we are really happy to be really a part of it, because this will be a history also, the first time on the history. And the concept is like this. So if the people start to see this on races and start to see that the women drivers are at the same level than the men drivers, and I think that this will help also to the engineers and to mechanics to improve the level and to get more people on this sector, no? That for sure we need.
I concur with you, Joan, and I fully agree with that statement. I mean, inclusiveness, you see it everywhere, in astronauts, women. In Saudi Arabia, the women are now driving cars. They're being pilots, as Kevin was mentioning. What's your case, Mark, in Force Hydrogen?
Yeah, in Forza, we have women basically in quite some parts of our organization. Like our electrical engineers are managed by a woman, and also if you look to the management of the team, we have a management of 9 people, of which 4 are women. So that's quite a high percentage. And I think over the past few years, we've also seen that the interest in technology, especially among women, has also grown in our organization. And I think in the future we'll see even more that also these different views really bring something extra to the table.
Awesome. Mark, I'm wondering why the car is pink.
Yeah, the car is our latest car is pink indeed. That's because of our main sponsor, which is BWT, which you of course also can see in the Formula One. So yeah, they provide us, they help us a lot, and they also made this latest car possible.
Awesome. Well, guys, I think it was a really fruitful discussion. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much for being part of this conversation. Hopefully, we're going to have Green Racing 2022 and hear about the developments that your companies have brought into converting ideas and technology into fun road cars that we're going to enjoy in our electrification journey. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy your Friday.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, guys. And Juan, I really appreciate what you said about women. I think, the organizer tried to get more women into the event. I think that's something to improve next time, but that's definitely on the agenda. So, if you're a woman and watching it and want to be proud of it, write to us. And actually, coming up is an interview with NLX. I know on the first panel, there was questions about where does the electricity come from. So hopefully with the interview, you'll understand that. And NLX will be interviewed by a woman, so Nuria from Evolectric. So that's great. Stay online, and we are continuing with the event. I'll be back for the last panel. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Hello, welcome to the Green Racing event. Thanks everyone for joining this interview. I want to make a special thanks to Michele. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to be here with you. I'm doing very well. Quite excited about this opportunity of sharing some ideas about motorsport in this new green scenario.
Yes, thank you so much. It's an honor for us to invite you, to have you here for your time. And I will start to make some questions about what you are doing right now. So I will start with this question. How is the motor show evolving? What are the major trends that you see?
Motorsport in this phase is facing a quite significant transformation. We see that many interaction about what is happening in the industry as making a sort of significant transition in the motorsport nowadays. Definitely the electrification part is a strong pillar. We see that it's a common point for different championships, for different events or applications, but this is just a small portion of the big scope of sustainability. Sustainability more and more is something that is requested in a motorsport to be credible for the future. And if you combine this with the need of having common architectures to have solutions that can be used in motorsport, but also in the automotive applications, makes everything more exciting because it's really a time where things are changing. Of course, there is always a point of keeping an eye on the cost reduction side, because we know how important it is to keep the cost in motorsport under control. But also the other side is always try to find ways to make motorsport, the sport generically, much more exciting for our spectators. Motorsport more and more needs to represent something for the future, and we need to find ways to engage the people that are following us in the different championships.
That's right. And it's very nice to see how is it growing. And also we can see some women as well, like racing in the e-motorsport. It's very amazing. So now changing a little bit the topic regarding NLX. Could you please tell me more details about what is NLX working in the e-motorsport field?
Yeah, sure. Motorsport for us, for NLX, is a laboratory. We consider it as a sort of accelerator of our technologies. We like to use motorsport to test things, to test them quickly, and to make sure that whatever we do is going to be robust for the following application, that is the mass market. And of course, the other ambition, like we said, we would like to make this more sustainable, and we want to force a bit, to provoke a bit the motorsport environment in being more and more sustainable along the way, keeping an eye on the fact that this transition, the electrification especially, means to bring new technologies, and when you deal with new technologies, you need to keep an eye on the safety side. So we want to implement things, but we want to make sure that these things are safely managed. And our ambition is to develop charging technologies. We are working a lot on charging technology, energy storage solution, infrastructural solution for the racetrack, and engineering tasks to provide all the possible ways for our, the stakeholder related to this, to have services, products that can really enable this transition to sustainability.
That's great. Sounds amazing. How do you think can e-motorsport contribute to the greening of our planet?
E-motorsport, as other sports, is the perfect vector to make more, let's say, effective the message of having a greening world. Because, motorsport has a sort of possibility of showing some challenging situation where normally you wouldn't expect that you can apply green solution, but you still can do that. And so you have a sort of echo effect, echoing the fact that if you can do it in motorsport, where everything is so challenging, you can do it everywhere, and there are no excuses. And I think this is the power of motorsport.
That sounds great. Perfect. How is electric motorsport changing the technological needs of the circuits?
The circuits have been working for a long time using the approach, the petrol approach. So we have been dealing for a long time with another kind of source of energy. Of course, this has created a sort of stability around that solution. Now we need to work on managing this transition. The electrification is something different. So the way how we deal with the electrification, especially on the racetracks, needs to be faced quite significantly. That's the reason why we talk to the racetracks. We understand how they can manage this transition, especially with some of them. We are creating some collaborations, because I think that the big challenge for the future is there is, talking about electrification, a quite significant request in terms of energy. And this energy has to be managed properly in terms of flow, energy flow, power, and in terms of where to store it, and having the capability of having sustainable and usable energy when you really need it.
That's a wonderful video that we are seeing right now. Very exciting. And the last question would be, what are the main challenges regarding the charging infrastructure and charging times for the e-motorbikes? And for last, is NLX interest to develop new technology on the bikes?
The motorbike application, especially in motorsport, is probably the most flexible one. There are some needs that are slightly different from the typical automotive motorsport race. So there we had to really apply our, innovation in terms of making the thing flexible and making the things more usable for the final user, for the motorbikers. For this reason, we introduced products like, for example, the Juice Roll. That is a very, very specific product that we developed for Moto E, where we combine the possibility of having a movable unit that you can, move around, that you can use to just give the right amount of energy just before starting, the installation lap or starting the race. And we have included in this charger a battery system, because in this way we relieve a bit the need of energy that must be provided by the circuit, the racetrack network. And of course, this is a step we want to continue to work on understanding better what could be the best solution and developing always cutting-edge solution for motorbikes, but not only.
That's great. So you are building the whole ecosystem for this e-motor sports. That sounds great. Well, Mikel, I don't know if you have any other thoughts to add to this interview.
Thank you. For me, it has been, as I said initially, a very good way to exchange some initial ideas of what we are doing. I think it's important that we all work together in order to make this greener and more sustainable, and this is our intention. And again, I'm very pleased to be here with you and with all the spectators, and I hope to see you very soon again.
Thank you so much. For sure, we will follow the e-motorsport to see more news about it, and we are very excited to have you here, and we will see you next time as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I think you're muted, Guillaume.
Hi. Hi again. Sorry, I think it happened to me like 4 or 5 times today. I'm so sorry. We're back for the last panel, and we're back with 4 German speakers. Sorry for not speaking German. And thank you guys for joining. I know it's late in Europe. Thank you, Benedict, Mike, Thomas, and Jorge for being with us today. And we're going to talk sim racing. So before I start with the introduction, I want to showcase a video of both initiatives. So you guys are going to see what I'm talking about. So World X and the Drone Champions League that you both represent. So we should be seeing the trailer from AX very soon. We should be seeing a trailer from the Drone Champions League as well.
Every sport has its origin. They have been around for decades, The turn of the 21st century saw the rise of competitive gaming. Today, the audience for these digital competitions exceeds 150 million viewers. Live entertainment and digital sport. It's the first obstacle, an incredible start.
What a fantastic videos. I like it. I mean, we're all meeting virtually, and I think, we're going to talk virtual worlds. How are you doing, guys?
Well, all good over here.
Good. Benedict, you want to start introducing yourself and the Joan Champions League?
Sure. First of all, thanks again for having the opportunity to join the panel. I'm on my own here, so not with 3 people, but I hope I will be fine. So what we've done with the Drone Champions League in the past is we wanted to create drone racing from the ground on, right? So we wanted to make flying accessible for everyone. So we took drone racing and created tracks in the heart of the city, in Paris on the Champs-Élysées, for example, in Munich in the Olympic parks, and had our teams battling on those fantastic locations. On top of that, we always envisioned a digital element. So that's why we started very early on with the development of our own game, where there is no difference anymore for a pilot to fly online or on a physical racetrack. So we wanted to merge the two worlds of a sort of a physical race and a virtual race, to merge those two worlds. And initially, we wanted to show that to the world already last season. Of course, through COVID, we hadn't had the opportunity to do that. So we focused much more on the virtual events, obviously. And for this season, we are envisioning to create the first ever hybrid sports series with 6 virtual events and 1 physical event at the end of the year. And that's, in a nutshell, an introduction to what we have been doing. And now I want to hand it over to Mike and his team to give a heads up on what you guys been doing.
Yeah, thank you, Benedict. Maybe Thomas and Jörg can say a bit more from our project. But anyway, I like the video a lot, and obviously what you guys are doing there. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Dominic, I'm a big fan really of drones and what you are doing in Drone Championship. And honestly, we've been looking also a lot in the things you are doing to learn something what we can create, because we are doing, of course, we're doing it with cars, but we're thinking in similar ways, because we are going away from a lot of traditions, because we really would want to recreate something new. Mike and I and Jörg, we've been in real motorsports for many, many years, myself for more than 3 decades. So we learned a lot what is working and what is not working in real motorsport. And with the virtual world, of course, starting from scratch, as you do, we had not yet the possibility to do our own game completely, but at least we developed our own car and developing the whole race format, doing it really, really different. And in the virtual world, you can do a lot of things which are not possible in the real world, also in quite a short time. And that's what we're trying to do. Really, we started with a white paper, blank paper, and really sitting down and saying, what could be attractive for the fans? And we looked in the race format, and I had the pleasure to be involved also in World Rallycross with Matthias Ekström and his team, and I really learned this is for myself maybe the best format you can have. Really short races, battles, a lot of starts during one day, a lot of close finishes. You can touch a little bit, but not too much, and really, really cool racing. So that was, for us, we go this kind of race format, doing something different. And also to have the short races, because in between the races, we want to tell stories and educate a little bit the people about innovation. And as we are going fully electric, and we said we do it racing for the climate, which is our hashtag, we want to tell stories in between. And if you have a long race like Formula One, it's difficult to tell stories in between. But now we have short races, and then in between, of course, we talk to the drivers, but then we can also talk about the latest innovation and technology, electric cars, electric mobility. And yeah, so we are doing a little bit like you, and we are also looking a lot into gimmicks, also graphical. We invested a lot in having the best possible graphic solutions for our broadcast production, also a high-level broadcast production, which we announced today, having Aurora Worldwide Media. They're the producers of Formula E and Extreme E, so they will be our broadcast partners and production partners. So yeah, we're doing a lot to really make the best possible show for the fans, for the spectators, and we believe it will be also interesting for our drivers. It will be a very challenging format because you can be out after 2 races on only 3 laps or 4 laps. So it will be a big challenge. Yeah, sorry, it was maybe a bit too long. Yeah.
Thank you, Guillaume, for the invitation. The same to the Green Racing News team. Thanks for being here. And like Thomas mentioned, and some others before, now digitalization comes to that point that the real world and the digital world are melting more and more together. If you look to real racing, the real motorsport, the work in simulators and in the R&D process in the automotive industry, the simulation processes are a big, big part of this process. And it's not any longer about gaming, it is part of the whole story. And motorsport in the past was big in evolution and very small in revolution. And starting with topics like Formula E, for instance, the motorsport started to get the revolutions, which is motorsport really needs. And in this same understanding, we developed this idea, bringing simulation, entertainment, real sport together and build up this kind of e-racing league.
I think
go ahead, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe from my side quickly, what I think is really important at the end, that there is a sport, right? So it is, in the sim racing or esports world, of course, there are really professional teams, drivers, like it is in the real world. And we try to combine this because we believe it's also interesting for the spectators to see, let's say, a guy like Romain Grosjean, who was currently, in F1, will do some IndyCar this year, and he will race against, let's say, the best simulation or sim racers in the world, for example, in our format, and I'm sure we can have cool battles. The car is fun to drive. We will have a car which, in theory, you could build in real life. So we try to achieve realistic figures there. And we want to show good sport, and that's obviously more my part, my background, to develop the car and to try to tweak it so the racing can be good. And then I think, like Thomas and Jörg said, at the end, the spectators and the audience, they will decide if they like it or not, for sure. But I believe we have a really unique way of doing things. And our first event obviously just will be at the beginning of March, the 11th of March. So it's not so long, and we are working flat out. And I think that's the start really of everything for us. I mean, until now, we work very hard since a year in the background. But now, I mean, the thing starts moving, and then I think then people will see it, and hopefully we have the right ingredients to put on a really good show, because I think that's what it is about, to educate, but also to entertain to enjoy watching, right? And to enjoy the people which are racing there and seeing those emotions. I think that's what we saw really interesting in the drone Champions League. The emotions you get straight away. Obviously, it was a perfectly done video footage, and it's really cool to watch, you know. And this is what you need to create to get a feeling for the sport and what people are doing there.
Yeah, cool is the word, right, for sim racing, I guess. I just want to go back to, is it a trophy behind you? Can you tell us, 24
Yeah, well,
hours
just by coincidence, we put it there. No, I mean, yeah, it's a trophy. It's actually the real trophy from Le Mans 2010, when we were, able to win with the diesel LMP1 powered, let's say, Audi. So that was pretty nice. Definitely.
I was born very close to Le Mans in France, so Le Mans is my heart.
This is a great race. I mean, it's so unique. There's obviously it's Le Mans. It's the man or let's say the human side and the machine against this race in a way, and then you have to survive, and it's so cool and so many. I mean, I had so many ups and downs there. It's very it's a big part of my life, and I hope that I can go back there as a real driver for sure. So let's see.
And maybe we'll do 24 hours sim racing race.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe it already exists. I don't know.
Yeah, that's also fun. Don't get me wrong, but I still like to be in a real car as well. And like we said before, we go completely different philosophy with our format. We want to be quick, entertaining, bam, 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 and winner loser kind of. I think that's what you need nowadays to attract a big audience, and then hopefully we have that. We can tell a good story. What is happening with future technology and everything around sustainability.
So I want to. Oh yeah, go ahead, please.
Topic. Of course, this is topic number one. If you look worldwide, and especially if you look to the news the last days, how quick the transition in car industry and mobilization is now going on. It is important to offer some points where you can combine entertainment, attractiveness with these sustainability topics.
The thing what we want to show, and then I want to give it to Benedict, maybe, that we really can have cool racing with electric powered cars or vehicles. And I think, Benedict, for the drones, there was never discussion having petrol engines in the drones, and you really show that you can really entertain the people with electric powered vehicles and drones. So that's really cool. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think exactly as you mentioned, for us, that topic never really came up when we thought about it, because obviously what we do and how we race is always purely electric. I think there are definitely things how you can improve setting up a physical event. I think Formula E and also Extreme E are targeting that topic now as well. But for our side, I really like your format, because that's exactly how we came up with our format as well. It's short battles. It's going head to head. That's what's important, and the entertainment part that's what it's all about, right? It's trying to keep the people entertained and showing the beauty of the sport. And for us also, it's a little bit easier because we're not fixed to a three-dimensional or two-dimensional space on a racetrack. We can set up our events wherever we want, and also the opportunities you're mentioning with going fully virtual are endless, right? I mean, we can put a gate on top of a church or whatever in the real world. Obviously, that wouldn't be possible, and I think the mixture of both actually, sort of gets the best out of it, right? You have a lot of experience from sort of real life racing, and now taking that experience and transporting it into the virtual world is super exciting. And I think I really like your approach, and we have been on that for the last couple of years as well.
Cool. So I wanted to take a step back and show a little bit of story around sim racing. So I'm going to try to share a video, and then we can just have fun and watch this. So let me just try to pull the video. Sorry for this. It's called The Evolution of Sim Racing, and credit goes to the YouTube channel Donut Media. I didn't let them know, but hopefully it's fine. You can use it. So I was born in the 80s. I think I played my first games in '93.
Yeah,
so let's see.
There's some development or some evolution, that's for sure. Oh,
especially in the graphics, huh?
Yeah. Wow. Oh, there's the steering wheel. There we go.
89, wow.
I was 6 years old, so.
Yeah, same. This one was the first one. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
And check this out. It's like overtaking.
Good braking. Good move.
It's
This one
amazing
was
how
good too.
simple it is in these years.
Wow. Indy cars.
It happened to me as well.
Nice car racing. Yeah. And they are big now as well.
Yeah.
Also within esports, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This I like always in America. They really understand how to put on a show.
Yeah. This one was amazing.
That was really good, to be honest.
For those days,
Yeah.
it was really good. Yeah.
This I played a lot. I think at the beginning with the keyboard.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then Gran Turismo, obviously.
That was a big step.
I wish you could play online at this time, you know?
Yeah.
Because at some point, you know, you get bored with the artificial intelligence, so you want to play with real drivers.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Which is also one of the coolest parts about it, I guess, that you can really meet, you know, like us now, and you play or you race against each other and then just have fun and have a laugh about it. That's so cool. It's so easy and so convenient.
Yeah. Mike, have you ever sort of trained when coming up on simulators like that? Was it already established back in the days, or?
Well, I would say, let's say within Audi, we are using it before every race. I would say the last 4 years, probably 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
So a bit late. Some others, they were even earlier in Formula One to develop their cars. And then my own one I use here and there to learn a track, because as I don't have the correct model of the DTM car, for example, or whatsoever, it's a bit tricky. But to learn the track, it's amazing. I mean, look at that. Nowadays they are all laser scanned and so accurate. I mean, you know it. It's unbelievable how every bump, every detail, every curve. It's really cool.
But do you think it's usable now for young guys to really train and become professionals?
Yes.
Only via sort of, a virtual?
I think,
setting?
well, only is always, I don't know, but I think a big portion of your education, let's call it, in as a young driver, you can do a lot, because the racing, the interaction is so accurate. So you learn in a way to think what to do in a race, what's clever, what not. And then obviously the last bit of feeling, I think you need to be in a real car for sure. But we have seen that now, that young kids, I mean, there are some examples, even Lando Norris or those guys, they do it, Max Verstappen, since they are very little. Obviously they combined it with go-kart racing, but as we all know, real racing is so expensive. I think this is a great opportunity. Look at the GT1 Maserati, a little spin. But it's a great opportunity to enjoy this beauty. Let's say if you're into cars and into racing, even for people which cannot afford to do it in real life, and this is most of us. Even for me, there are so many race cars I will never drive in real life, but I can always, click here and there and choose the car in the racetrack, like Formula One, to do Monaco or whatever is a dream. And yeah, it's so realistic nowadays that it's just a lot of pleasure. And what I really underestimated is when I did my first sim race, when I did it, let's say, and to start to get my license there and to get better and to go to higher levels, I was so nervous, to be on the start and on the grid and not to do a mistake. And it felt almost like a real life race. So that was, and I spoke to some other guys and they all feel the same. And that's why we love it so much right now.
Yeah. But I think also the budget point is super interesting, because that was always the intention for us also at the start, creating something like this, because if you want to fly a plane yourself, the costs are also massive, right? You need to be 18, you need to get the license, you need to have a plane or at least rent something. And with drone racing, when you put on the goggles, visually, it's nearly the same experience as if you're flying a plane yourself. So obviously, that was a perfect opportunity to make flying accessible for everyone. Yeah. And I think that's an awesome opportunity, especially in racing with the same limits. There as well.
Exactly the same. You're absolutely right. And you train your skills, you really do. And even go-karts here with R Factor 2, you can start, my kids, I have two sons and they are 4 and 6 years old, and they love it. And once in a while they sit on, on my chest and they go and they want to do go-karts. And then I enjoy it so much. So, and it's an easy way and it's very convenient. And like I said before, it's affordable. So I think you can enter racing or start to create this passion about it, definitely in a young age. And then that's a nice thing you can do when you're really young, but also when you are, very old, you can do it. So I really think that's great about sim racing or esports in general. Everybody can take part.
I think it's a nice addition really to motorsports. I was in a panel on Clubhouse this week where we talked about this. That is really a new part of motorsport, and a lot of the drivers who are driving in esports racing, they don't want to become real racing drivers, but it's a new discipline which has been created. The same for you for the drone racing. It's just a new part of the sport world, and so it's really fascinating. And that's what we also try with World EX, to really create heroes in our championship, like you do in your drone league as well. So that building a relationship between the drivers and the fans. So, and that's cool. And so that's really a new discipline. I think the FIA even is looking into promoting also esports racing, to create something within the FIA to have it as a new discipline which complements the real racing world. Yeah, that's cool.
Exactly. I think it's not, obviously you don't take away anything from the real racing world, but it's an addition. And still the human side, which we saw in your video and which we will really put our focus on, it's the human beings which you want to see doing that, and the emotions. Because at the end of the day, every sport, everything you watch, you wanna have sympathy for somebody in there, or you don't like the other one, right? And this is what creates the emotion. And then if you see them battling and you see their emotions, I think that's really important to add that dimension.
That's why Twitch is very famous, and very popular, because at the beginning you're like, why should I watch someone play video games? And at the end, like especially since the pandemic, I think what happened, Formula One was stopped basically, and they started to compete in the virtual world, and we're all watching, and that was super cool.
Yeah,
the pandemic is just an accelerator for this development, which is ongoing since a couple of years, as we have seen on your video.
No, absolutely.
Go ahead.
I think I just wanted to follow that point Jörg was mentioning. As I briefly touched it at the start, we had a perfect set of real life events planned for last season. We wanted to go to Moscow, we wanted to go to China again, but obviously that wasn't possible. But luckily, we just had launched our game, and we used that energy actually to focus fully on creating the virtual race season, right? And now it's exactly as you said. It kind of served as an accelerator to steepen the learning curve and use all the knowledge we had to focus on creating, that hybrid sport we've always been dreaming about. And I think just one point I want to mention here, and I think it fits perfectly within that Latam forum, that we're going to host our real life event this year in Mexico City, in the bullfighting arena in Mexico City. And I think that's exactly what we need, right? We need a combination to do a perfect storytelling, Mike, exactly as you said, to create those heroes and give the spectators something to die for, so to speak, that they really engage with the audience. And we've seen that a lot now, partnering with Twitch in the last year, that engaging with the audience and creating that fan base is the ultimate goal at the end of the year, especially for such a young sport which is still, if you consider esports still a niche, then what we do is a niche within a niche, And so we need to take all the know-how we have from real life racing and virtual racing and combine it all into one to grow the community even further.
There's a nice comment from Elysium. It's been commenting a lot today, and thank you for that. Sim racing is the only sport that is equivalent to the real world. If I play NBA 2K against LeBron, it's not the same. But if I race Verstappen on the sim, it's a true part.
It's true. It's a bit true.
Very true. Yeah.
And maybe Benedict, we can one day invite one of your drone league drivers or racers, how you call it, to maybe have a guest driver in one of our races, and the other way around. Maybe it would be funny. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think another point which I wanted to mention, according to the question you just showed, is that's what was always our passion about creating the heroes, that where you have the chance now to compete with the best in the world on the real life at the end of the day, right? Because you can sort of qualify through the virtual world to compete with the best in the world at the DCL. And I think exactly as the question was mentioning, that you can play FIFA as long as you want, but you're always missing that physical element, right? But within racing and also what we do, we kind of even take that step further, because we don't have that physical element in drone racing anyways. Because if you're sitting at home and flying with the goggle in front of your computer or your TV, in the real event, you just sit on a chair and put on the goggles. So we still don't have that physical element anyways. And I think there are so many options, and I'm so excited to see the start of your season, because that new world offers so many cool opportunities now to really focus and create a new way of entertainment at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about the pandemic. Obviously, a year ago, I think our lives changed. Everyone's lives changed. So how did it affect sim racing? Obviously the pandemic is a very bad news for everyone. But did it accelerate sim racing?
Well, I mean, to be honest, yes, it accelerates this for sure, in a way. On the other hand, we also know that there is also a downside, clearly, for everybody, even in our business, let's say, because it's not that easy to convince partners and big companies to invest in those days, which it is difficult. Everybody has to really rethink how is this going to develop in a business case, and not our own, let's say, our company, but their own problems, right, in the market, wherever their field is. So I think there are a lot of issues, but on the other hand, there is, in a way, for us, it just ramped up the sim racing, clearly, but also when the real racing comes back, it will be a bit more quiet, let's say. And at the end, I believe there will be one or two huge championships, which will be the most famous ones, like in any sport, and definitely that's our goal, to be one of those. That's clear. So yeah, overall, to be honest, it's still a huge negative. I think there's not much positive to say about that pandemic for the whole world. That's clear. But nevertheless, we started before the pandemic happened, let's say, to fund the company or to start the company, and to get it going. But then we actually took a little bit of speed out, and we said, okay, let's wait a second, and because there were so many championships popping up, and we could learn from that as well, because we really watched and we saw what is good, what is not good, and what can we do better, and that's why we took our time, and we tried to start hopefully with a really good quality.
Good, thank you for that. Anyone wants to comment? Benedict, what happened to you guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, I briefly touched it, obviously we always had it as our long-term objective to be having virtual and real life events, right? We definitely didn't intend it to be happening on that fast pace. But, as I said, I think for us as a company, it helped us to learn a lot in a very short time. Nevertheless, I need to agree with Mike. It's not only focusing on us, we are also very much dependent on partners, on locations in our situation, on also the teams, and those effects are you can feel them everywhere. And I think overall, also I think people like to go to an event, they like to experience how an event feels like. Nevertheless, I think with the new opportunities we have, it's a perfect combination. But I think the effects, as Mike was saying, are obvious everywhere around the world. But it definitely helped put much more focus and emphasis on that topic.
When we started the project of World EX, we also had the plan to have a real world event in the end, to have the championship decision. So in a nice stadium, a nice location. This, of course, we put on hold and put on ice when the pandemic started, and it's still on ice at the moment, because we can't at the moment predict and foresee when this will be possible again in a proper way. But for sure, for the future, this would be also our target to, let's say, have the normal season in the virtual world completely, really the drivers doing it from their homes or from the workshops, and not flying around, because this is also was with our sustainable approach, because it makes sense to have them not traveling, but to have the final event, to have then a lot of spectators on site, to give, like Benedict said, this feeling to the people to watch something together in an arena. This is definitely a future target here.
Good. So actually, we have a very good question on the chat, so let me put it. So from Ruby Ann, under which international sport federation does sim racing fall? Is it under the International Esports Federation?
Well, to be
go ahead, Mike.
No, I think there's a lot happening in the background as this all starts, and let's say, to be honest, especially in racing, let's say motor racing, this world was pretty small and on a let's say lower level in general. So now it's all ramping up, and there's more business around, and manufacturers are getting into it a lot more, as we can see, and professional teams, drivers. So I think let's say the federations are looking into it. The ones from the real world, but for sure there's also an interest of some people already involved since many years, maybe taking that over. So I think there's an interesting development happening in the background, and right now I would say there is no one there's no one organization. So I think there's still which is also interesting. I think that's also good.
World, in the past, you needed someone who organized the race, organized the place, and organized the rules, all these things. And in the digital world, the entry level is much, much, much lower. And now the public is coming and building up this tree till the top. And this makes things growing in the other way than in the past.
As there is no federation, yes, I agree with Jörg, it's easy to set it up and make it happen, but we looked into it and said, we need somehow a neutral organization to have the ruling of this, because there could be a lot of discussions when you don't have a steward from the FIA or the DMSB in Germany. So we went to the Automotive Club von Deutschland, the AWD, the organizer of the German Formula 1 Grand Prix, and we ask them to be our sporting organizer. So they do the whole ruling of the races. So that's nothing we are involved in, because we want to have it neutral. So they are for us like our own very small federation, doing all the legal part and the rulings and during the races. But as Mike says, at the moment there's no real federation for it, and I think it's the same in drone racing. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I'm not sure how you guys, what experiences you had. Whenever we are talking with pure esports enthusiasts, they are telling us, "Hey, you guys are racing." Right? And if we go and talk to people from racing, they are telling us, "Hey, you guys are esports." So we're kind of in between. And I think it's a good point, Jörg, what you're mentioning. At a very high professional level, and obviously in the real world, you need federations, right? Because there's so much at stake, right? There's so much money involved. There's so much, lives involved also in racing, right? There needs to be a governing body. Where we are in, I think, for a young company to also kind of figure out what works, how does the community conceive and how, what mechanism, what format is working, I think a federation can be to some extent also very limiting, because Mike, you might be well aware, and all of you might be well aware, federations aren't the fastest, right? So where we are, if we feel, hey, we got very bad feedback on this and that over one season, we can just quickly change it, talk to the community, hey, do you really feel about this needs to be changed? And it's like, yeah, okay, then we change it. And I think we are much more focused on the community than we want to be sort of the governing body, or somebody else being the governing body telling everyone how the show is run. No, we want to see how the product is, how the market looks at this. And if the market has some adjustments to suggest, then we're going to look at it, and we want the opportunity and the freedom to change it. Obviously, at some point in time, probably in 10 to 15 years, it might be worth having, overall a racing or sim racing, or however it will be called, kind of federation. But I think now, as it's all, kind of to be figured out, we honestly like where we are now.
Yeah, can imagine. Yeah, I agree on that.
So yeah.
There was another nice comment from Geni Wando. I hope to see a good sim racing for power boats. He's just giving us an idea there. So I know we had Rodi Basso from E1 series, the new power boat series. So maybe maybe you can contact them. But yeah, I'm pretty sure someone is going to come up with something like that.
Probably, yeah.
I'm sure, yeah. For sure. Why not?
Anyway, I had a follow-up question. I mean, today's topic is really around sustainability. So, how can sim racing promote sustainability, and what are you guys doing around that?
Hi.
Yep. It's about the awareness of how to do better in future, how to solve all of that, energy, reduce waste, go responsible in your daily mobility topics, use electric devices, things like that. And to do this in an entertaining way and help to grow up this mindset is one big tool we do see, which is achievable with e-racing.
And then also, you go ahead, Thomas. No, please.
We're even doing, as maybe an interesting, we're even doing a little kind of driver rating in performance, but we do it also in sustainability. So we have 10 questions, 10 themes, where we check the drivers, what they are doing in their private or in their business life, which cars they are using, which energy they are using at home, are they using bicycles, what are they doing with the garbage and things like this. So we give a rating. And this rating has a small impact in the end on the starting grid of the final race of the season. So if they improve their daily life and so help the climate in the end and the environment, then they can improve their chances to be the world champion. So this is something also we then talk about in the TV show and in the broadcast show, and like Jörg says, in an entertaining way, maybe educate all of us all together to make a better world.
And for the championships, for the drivers, we will have a partnership with an organization like Carbon Contact to make sure to lower up our carbon footprint and to be aware about our carbon footprint, to avoid anything in carbon emissions, and to find a way to get lower and to make better.
Yeah, I was about to mention, I mean, obviously sim racing, I mean, you're not racing cars, but you're still, consuming electricity in all the data centers, etc. So, that's probably for the question, but, Benedict, I know you wanted to say something, so go ahead.
Yeah, just one point. I think that might also be a super interesting touch point there. The audience which we are talking to is much younger, generally on average, than in traditional sports, right? So we actually have the opportunity talking to that audience and raising that topic right from the start when they start to follow sports, right? Because I know it by heart here from the German Bundesliga. I think the average viewer is about 50 to 55 years old, right? So whereas on our hand, our average customer or average fan is between the age 30 to 25. So we have a much younger audience, and we can use that as a perfect leverage to start spreading the awareness about this topic right at the start, because those people will be our future leaders eventually. And I think when we start early, that's the plus we have compared to other sports.
And for the younger target groups, this topic is more in mind than for the older ones.
Exactly. Yeah. It will become much more relevant at the end of the day for them, right? Because they will be much more affected than people which are 70 or 80 years old right now. So obviously, it's much more relevant for them.
Cool, but it's not too late to be a sim racer, right? I mean,
not at all.
Sim racer at 50 years old if you want, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
You can do it at any age, I think. Yeah.
Do you have any good anecdote around that? Any older driver or
Yes.
We cannot
have some gentleman drivers in our championship, or at least.
Yeah, but no, I would not say gentlemen. Gentlemen, yeah, let's say experienced drivers. But this is good. We look for diversity, and that's another thing in our sport, here, or let's say in sim racing, which we also have in real racing. But as an example, you can have handicapped people fighting on the same level, which maybe in real life they couldn't do because of their handicap, which I think is a good, way of also motivating people and say, look, you can have fun, you can compete on the highest level in the world, and this goes for women against men and so on. So I think there are many aspects, and also talking about. When Formula E started, I was not a huge fan of it. And I still believe there are some things, let's say, I don't like that much, but I have to say they really went a complete different route. And at the end of the day, they did absolutely right, because look how many manufacturers they have. Look how many manufacturers are in Formula One or DTM or whatsoever around the world. So they did something right there. And I have to say the racing and the entertainment is good. But what I wanted to say is actually with our format and our race car, let's say, built on real figures, right? Simulations, what you can do, or maybe what you can do in 3 years' time, also shows that you can have a lot of fun with let's say, 1,000 horsepower, 4-wheel driven car. Of course, right now you can't go forever, but our race format doesn't need that. So I believe this is a good way also to see, look, okay, it's the same with the drone. I mean, the sound, there is a sound, of course, when the real ones are flying. But what I'm saying is also there, you don't miss it. The action, the pictures, everything you saw is so intense. You're not looking for the sound. And I believe the same in racing. We all, let's say the older generation, we are used to these V10 engines in Formula One. It was a drama when they changed to the turbo engine. But now everybody's used to it. And the younger generation, they don't even care about that. So I think that you cannot always say, oh yeah, we need the sound and otherwise it's not good racing and so on. So I believe there will be a change, and I think also that we can in a way educate and say, look, it can be a lot of fun even without a combustion engine.
Yeah, I think we always complain about the past. I mean, I remember in the 90s, people complain, like, oh yeah, the 80s were better, and then it's always like this. So
that's
but true, I was my first Formula One race I've watched probably in '93, and like the V12 Ferrari. I mean, I was a huge fan for sure.
Of course.
Then they moved to V10 and then V8, etc.
Yeah, but we raced. I mean, when we talked about the trophy, we raced the diesel in Le Mans with the V10 or V12 at the beginning. The thing was super silent compared to what we were used to before, and at the end, the car was so quick and so great to watch. Nobody said, you missed the sound, because they were so fast. It was frightening. When we did the test, let's say endurance test in Le Castellet alone at night, I was watching around the track the other guys when I had my shift over, let's say, and it was incredible, and actually I enjoyed it a lot more, to be honest, than a very noisy car, because you had the sound of the wind, you had the sound of the gearbox. Of course, the diesel also has a sound, so don't get me wrong. You could really focus on, let's say, some other details. It was good fun, and the car was, I mean, we were doing 340 kph at night, so it was still a huge machine, and we won Le Mans, and it was okay. And before that, I'm sure if you would have said to the people, look, we go with the diesel engine, they would be all like, this can never be a sexy race car. And at the end it was, and I'm sure it's going to be the same with electric cars. And we will see. At the end of the day, we don't know yet if it will be a battery-powered car or whatsoever in the future. This is a development, and we are just on the, let's say, in the beginning. And we are also free with our platform to go whatever way will be the one. We start now with a battery-powered car, with our own car. If manufacturers enter, they say we go hydrogen or we do this way, we are free. Whatever is, let's say, the future in mobility and racing, or we want to make it into the racing world, I think we are open.
And it's always a little bit unfair to look into the past, because you always miss some points you're not remembering. If you look, for instance, to older race cars, maybe you have in mind the noise, but you are missing the gaps you have when the drivers have to shift the gears and the speed which is missed in this situation. And that was past. And now we do have the ability to create the future. And this is much more interesting, because the future, the way or the point of time where we will live in, not the past.
And I believe electric-powered vehicles can be very, very emotional as well. As I said before, watching a drone is really big fun. I like also to fly the drone and see them and feel them. I'm driving an electric car since a couple of months, and it's really fun to do. And I really enjoy that there's no noise anymore. It's really a nice part. I love the acceleration. I love the handling with a low battery, with a low weight center. So that's really cool. And I as well, I was used to race driving really cool sports cars. I love my electric car now, and all the manufacturers they're investing a lot in developing the emotion of those cars. And I think that we can help this as well with the simulation, which is really cool, because the simulation is so real. And what is important for the future for the customers? So they go in the car, they sit. What is the feeling in the cockpit? What is the noise that I hear? That maybe artificial noise, and how the car is driving. So this we can all showcase in our game, in our racing, with manufacturers developing cars to our rules, and so giving maybe feedback to their development departments what the customers, what the fans outside think about it. So maybe there's a nice opportunity in the future. Yeah. And all going electric, or what Mike says, what we don't know yet if there's coming something different in the future in the development. So yeah, so that's very interesting, and we are looking always forward and not rearward. Yeah.
And if you think the other way, I mean, like in the 80s or whatever, when you were watching a futuristic movie, and seeing like all those electric cars and all those lights, and seeing the screen, everywhere, like, I mean, you would be like, wow, that's so cool. So now we're missing the past, but I think we're always missing something, basically. Maybe it's just the human nature.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then coming back to a few points, I think about Formula E. I went to a few races, and one thing that did very well was the fan engagement. So yes, it's could be weird for someone not used to it, but you can vote for a driver and giving more like battery power, and I think they found a way to engage people. So you have this app and you do it. So I think Formula One, what do? You vote for the best driver basically. There's no engagement in Formula One.
Well, and one thing is also clear in Formula E, the level of competition, or let's say the difference between the cars was at the beginning was zero, and then let's say when manufacturers entered, it's still very minor. So it's very, of course, you have better teams than the others or whatsoever. But I think what's important, and that's the difference to Formula One, which is still very old school in that respect, that the best car is winning. I mean, we have so many examples. Of course, the best driver, and they create good heroes. But let's be honest, if you see George Russell, who's a phenomenal driver, but if he's in the worst car, he's always somewhere in the back and he doesn't get a lot of attention. He jumps in a Mercedes and he would have exactly done the same like Lewis Hamilton. Without the mistakes of the team, he would have won the race. First race in that car. So that gives you a little bit, and we all know that. It's the same for me. I'm not saying I won Le Mans because I was so good or my teammates. We had the package to do it, right? So that you have to be straightforward with that. And I believe what people really want to see is who's the best driver. Of course, technology in Le Mans, I think, is interesting because it fits to this race. But in short races or sprint races, you want to see really close battles, head-to-head battles, and not a car which is way more advanced. And in a way, you can jump any good driver can jump in and win. I'm not saying that in the Mercedes, don't get me wrong, but we know that there is a huge difference in the level of performance. And this, I think, is also something in Formula E, which is cool, and for sure, which is cool in our championship, because the cars are exactly the same.
I think it's the same for the DSL, that your drones are all the same for the guys who are flying them. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And we always, it's pretty much the same concept what you guys have been explaining. It's about showing and focusing on the driver and on the ability for him to be a fast driver, or in our case, a fast pilot, right? And if we can focus the sport on that and on the head-to-head racing, and then create storytelling around it with behind the scenes content, or in our case content about the exceptional locations we race at, that's what the people want to see. And I agree with you, Formula One, it will be always interesting because it has so much legacy, right? But for the young audience, everybody kind of knows the more budget you have, the better the car will be, and the more championships you will win. It's pretty simple. And in taking that away is probably with Formula E, they have been the first ones to do it. And obviously in esports or in sim racing, that's always there anyways. So I think creating a level playing field where everyone is starting with the same capacities, and then just proving if you're good enough or not, that is what the people want to see. And that's what's engaging. And that's why people watch it, because then you have emotions, right? Because people have to show why they are good and how good they are compared to the. And if you have that battling and those emotions, that's where the people, are attracted to. And
100%.
That's the way future.
Yeah.
Cool. I just want to do last point, talking again about diversity and women. Obviously, again, I think we wanted to invite more women in the event. I think that will happen. And if you're a sim racer, woman sim racer, get in touch, and we want to invite you to talk. And and you're right. You can have women and a lot of people that are physically not perhaps good in sports and can just be part of it. So I think sim racing is very good for that. I don't know if you guys have a conclusion from our chat. I know it's late, and it's Friday night, so I'm not gonna keep you for much longer, basically.
Well, I really enjoyed it. I have to say, also, to listen to Benedict, and obviously thank you again for having us. It's just great, and you see. Also, you meet a lot of interesting people like tonight, and you see how many smart people are involved in this, let's say, environment. And I really enjoyed that, to be honest. There's always something to learn and to pick up, for sure.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Thanks for having us. Very, very interesting to learn about what you guys have been doing and will be doing in the future. I can't wait to see it. And thanks for everyone watching, obviously. Thanks for the opportunity again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Guillaume, for inviting us and giving us this opportunity. Really a pleasure to talk to you and to know you, Benedict, and giving us the possibility to talk about our project and our approach. So you hope you watch the first race.
Absolutely.
We will. I'm pretty sure some people from Green Racing will write articles about that, and we will follow for sure. Well, thank you so much. I think that was a great summit. We talked about new competitions, sustainability, racing. There's more to come, obviously, and hopefully we'll meet physically one day. But again, I want to thank the organizer for inviting me as the host for today. And thank you guys for staying late. I think we're wrapping up. There's some cool videos that we've seen today that will be shown again. But again, I think this video is staying on YouTube. I think someone was asking about that, so feel free to look at it. Maybe some people from Asia tomorrow will watch it as well. So thank you guys again, and have a great weekend, and good luck with the championships. The partner hunting and everything, and if you can help, let us know.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Looking forward to see you soon, wherever, whenever.
Bye.
See you guys.
Ciao.
See you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Can you hear that? The sound of change. Plugged in, fully charged. Over 4,000 kilowatts of pure power. Waiting to be unleashed.
All 5 lights are on. We go green.
A race against time. A race for change. 12 of the world's most powerful teams. This is Racing Electric. Welcome to Season 7. Change accelerated.
The first electric boat championship.
Fast, immersive, unpredictable.
That will crown the first ever E1 world champion. With the E1 series, we want to electrify the sea, the rivers, the lakes, all over the world, to make this electric revolution come also to the water.
The Racebird will be a truly unique all-electric powerboat with some of the most advanced boating technology in the world.
We have excellent location all around the globe. New York, London, Monaco, Miami, Sydney. We are very much looking forward to give a great contribution to save our planet.
We will make sure to have the right technology and the right people in order to deliver something absolutely disruptive and, of course, fully electric.
E1, water electrified.
Every sport has its origin. They have been around for decades. The turn of the 21st century saw the rise of competitive gaming. Today, the audience for these digital competitions exceeds 150 million viewers. Live entertainment and digital sport